It's 2018, and after a year and a half of solo and subunit build-up, a girl group by the name of LOONA is preparing to make their full group debut. Through the lens of what was called the LOONA project, every member had been handed a perfectly constructed image and sound, and even personality to some extent, considering how little LOONA were given freedom to interact naturally with fans through social media. And in the first part, we discussed all of this and how the group was built from member to member. And now we're going to be discussing what would happen now that the project have finally been complete. The first part was world building, the mythology of LOONA, how LOONA came together to exist in this universe. And now we enter the second part, LOONA's shaky, unhinged rookie years. We are now going to enter one of the most crucial turning points in LOONA's career. There are so many other crucial points, but let's stick to the second crucial one. But involving this turning point, we are going to have to tackle a lot of tricky subjects that I didn't feel comfortable monetizing. As I said before in the first part, I don't feel comfortable profiting off of LOONA's pain and mistreatment, discussing those things at length, which I'm going to have to do in this part. And I did think about whether or not I should talk about it at all. But it's like, if I didn't talk about it at all, then it would kind of feel like I'm covering it up or like trying to sanitize what happened, and it would also make it harder for others to understand the extent of what happened and how it led to the future outcome of LOONA. To only focus on the constructed image of LOONA in a series discussing their history and to not explore deeper beyond that would just be like viewing abuse through rose-tinted glasses, and I don't want to do that. Considering this video won't be monetized, the algorithm is probably not going to push it. So if there's anyone you know who watched the first part or would be interested in this, send this video to them please, because otherwise I think this is going to stay within my subscribers, my subscriber radius, which is actually completely fine with me. There will also be trigger warnings when we get into it. I will timestamp that. I haven't come to a conclusion yet, but I will sort that out. And just a quick mention, in the last part I spoke about not listening to LOONA's music officially because of the boycott. The boycott is over, but most orbits are continuing with the boycott, so I would also advise you to seek out LOONA's music that was released under Blockberry Creative in other areas. Now I have my own ways, but I don't want to draw any attraction to places where you can find LOONA's music because there's a chance that could shut them down, and I don't want that. I recommended SoundCloud last time. There's also an account called 12M, and orbits are kind of on the fence about 12M because there was some orbits discovering that they were contributing to the streams like by accident or not intentionally, but it's not safe to use 12M as far as I know. So if you really don't want to use SoundCloud, you can find other ways yourself, but I just don't want to name them. And also because it's illegal, you know, I don't do illegal things. As LOONA are continuing post BBC, I would strongly advise you to support their career and listen to their newer music. I've been loving Eve's Loop. I've been listening to it almost every day. It's my favorite post BBC solo LOONA release. So just giving a recommendation of my favorite, but you should try and listen to all of them. Give them all a chance, okay? But I think we're in for a lot in this part, especially near the end. So let's run it back and start from the beginning. But one more thing. Now I know that I'm not going to be monetizing this, that means I can kind of say whatever I want, so I don't need to censor anything. So I just wanted to ask, who the fuck is this cat? Can someone tell me? Because you can't do research or look up LOONA without this cat. And I want to know who this cat... Actually, you know what? I don't want to know. I really don't. A quick recap. Here is the final lineup of LOONA members in order. Heejin, Hyunjin, Hassel, Vivi, Yojin, Kimlip, Jinsol, Cherry, Eve, Chu, Gawon, Haeju, formerly known as Olivia Hare. If you're a newer orbit, her name is Haeju to you, but in the sense of time traveling, of recounting, she was Olivia Hare, okay? Now that the pre-debut process was over, which had started from October of 2016 and ended as of May of 2018, it was time to wrap up the era. LOONA were in the process of doing that by holding a very special fan event called Cinema Theory Up and Line. This was following the LOONA study group fan meeting that occurred a month prior, that was a screening of LOONA music videos with the members present during the intervals. Fans were invited to an event where they would intensely study LOONA. The first Cinema Theory took place in the Lotte Cinema World Tower of Seoul during March of 2018. The tickets had artwork provided by Huntergraph, and these tickets are very elusive and or expensive collector's items, and they're like being sold for hundreds last time I checked. For the second Cinema Theory event, Blockberry announced a contest that would determine the next location where they would host the event. Brazil, as expected, won the competition. They won the contest, which was promising for LOONA's popularity, because if Brazil didn't like you or Brazil doesn't like you, then literally no one likes you. Like, how can you not be liked by Brazil? But then Blockberry held the next event in Busan and just completely ignored the contest and the event. And they never even stated why. I get that they may have had some issues with setting up the event overseas, but then why have the contest anyway if you couldn't go through with it? Cinema Theory was more than a showing of LOONA music videos. They also showed fans exclusive unreleased content that displayed more of LOONA's lore. This included choreography versions, a short Seesaw music video, and a Love and Live video that had Cherry in Hyunjin's place, further confirming that within the lore they are each other's mirror. Some fans recorded bits and pieces of the video shown at the event, but still to this day we don't have any HD versions of it or full recollections of any of the videos shown at this screening. Blockberry discovered that fans had been recording some of this in the cinema, and they asked fans to get other fans to delete the content because it was illegal. Nice try, Blockberry, but we're not snitches. I wish that at some point BBC just released all this stored content that they have lying around, and I know that would take away from the exclusivity, but come on, it's been like 5 years, more than 5 years at this point. I'm sure the people who attended the event years ago wouldn't really mind it being released when they got to see it like 5 years early. You can tell I wrote this a long time ago because I don't really care. I don't want none of Blockberry's exploitative content. I don't want any of it. On July 10th, we had been given our official fandom name, and everyone thank God it wasn't Loonatic. We were actually given the name Orbit, Orbits plural. Thank God now I can finally start using the term Orbit instead of LOONA stans. I'm sorry, I just wanted to be extra. I just wanted the timeline to be correct because there was no Orbit in the pre-debut era, okay? But now, from now on, we are officially Orbits in the timeline. Rest in peace, lunatics. So in Korean, Orbit is pronounced like Orbit. And I never knew this, but apparently O is supposed to be the moon, and because bit means light in Korean, it basically means that fans are LOONA's light. The name Orbit was also altered to like refer to different sides of the fandom, 2 different sides of the fandom to be specific. Hanbit, that refers to Korean fans, and Woobit, which translates to foreign fans, meaning we are the Woobits and fans in Korea are the Hanbits. After being christened with our official fandom name by BBC, it was then announced on the last day of July that LOONA would release their first full group lead single. This was more of a pre-debut full group single to close out this pre-debut era of LOONA's career. It would be on the debut album, but it wasn't going to be the title track for the album. For more than a year's worth of hype, LOONA was finally going to be debuting all together. We had literally never seen all 12 girls stand together in the same room, which was both highly anticipated and so exciting at the time. Their full group debut was probably one of the most hyped girl group debuts of that year after IZ*ONE, that Blood girl Choi Yena made it into. And I know a lot of people like to doubt LOONA's impact or how well they're known. I'm sure after I said that a lot of people will be like, LOONA weren't that important, like next to IZ*ONE, are you serious? But at the time they had garnered a lot of hype, and especially for coming from an unknown company, there was a lot of hype there that they had. So I wouldn't underestimate that. And I remember the days leading up to LOONA's debut like it was yesterday. Orbits were going around telling everyone on K-pop Twitter, if you don't stan LOONA in the next week, next day, next hour, then you won't be able to call yourself a pre-debut orbit. Being a pre-debut orbit had some kind of prestige, I guess, in a I was a fan before they were popular kind of way. If you were present during LOONA's pre-debut days, you probably have a vastly different viewpoint of the group and even future events compared to orbits who came after LOONA's debut, or orbits who started standing recently. I mean, that's really a baby orbit if this is really that new. Newer orbits to the fandom were often nicknamed baby bits. Oh. Now I'm saying that out loud. Let's remove the S. It was quite common over the years for pre-debut and other long-time orbits to compile stories from LOONA's older eras and make their own threads where fans could offer up their knowledge to newer fans. I always found this very sweet and very welcoming. It really is like stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. It really did become an orbit tradition.
Hello! Welcome!
On August 7th, the lead single Favourite was released. The song declares the signature sound of LOONA in its complete form, and it was produced by Sophia Pai, Kim Jin-hyung, Sly Berry and Billie Jean. The song weirdly enough samples a Jessie J song called Real Deal, and the way they turn this just your average mid-2010s R&B pop song into something really special is just something else. What I love about Favourite as the group's first single as a group is the fact that they went for an R&B pop song because it unifies the sound of the B-sides we'd been hearing from the duets. One of the best things about Favourite was Heejin's opening line,
I wanna try some right now.
Despite Favourite being one of LOONA's best lead singles, if you will, sadly the same cannot be said for the song's line distribution. The line distribution was actually quite shocking and controversial amongst orbits back then. And looking back on it today, it's hard not to mark this as the start of Blockberry's ignorance towards the same certain group of members that we will continue to see throughout LOONA's career from this point on, through the Blockberry era. However, orbit attitudes towards the uneven line distribution of Favourite in the moment was mostly to laugh at it, like orbits were kind of just cracking jokes about the whole thing. In particular, members like Yeojin and Vivi were frequently joked about because of their non-existent lines, which goes to show how much orbits would progress as a fandom, because a few years later and that was just unacceptable behaviour. I think it comes down to the fact we all came to this realisation that BBC were being serious with how terrible they distributed their lines and screen time and everything, and it just wasn't funny anymore. But more on that when we talk about the title track of the first album. What made the Favourite era was LOONA's very plain schoolgirl styling and its toned down music video compared to what we had seen in earlier subunit eras. I don't know for sure if Favourite was the start or the origin of the whole Blockberry is broke belief system, but I don't really doubt it. I think that Favourite styling is probably the better half of Kimin's work for LOONA as a whole 12, and that's not a good sign considering it's a plain white shirt, a grey skirt and some Converses. On August the 19th, LOONA held their debut concert. While most debut concerts are held in smaller venues and are just little showcases, LOONA's debut concert was at the Olympic Hall in Seoul. The interesting thing about this debut concert is that it came a day before LOONA's official debut. This was because LOONA had so much music that they could hold a full concert without performing any of their debut album really. But regardless of not needing their debut album for the concert, LOONA gave us a few performances of their debut album that would be releasing just a day after. The reasoning for spoiling some of the songs was because they were going to be released on the album like just a day after, as I just said. So it didn't really matter at that point. And yet the euphoria from these like leaks, it really was a moment in time. LOONA performed both their solos and subunit songs, which resulted in some of these fan cams that still remain relevant and popular for so many years in the fandom. After concluding the loonabirth debut concert, LOONA was ready to debut their first mini album on the 20th. But not before they made a splash with these teasers. Herstory. The teaser images for Plus Plus was something else, just look at them. They were taken in like such a way that made it look like the members were being told to smile at gunpoint. And then they were given that uncanny blobbery skin whitening Photoshop look through editing and makeup. Long story short, these photos have lived on for years in relevancy because they just look so uncanny and silly. The white shirt and white background and their weird poses just made it prime to become a meme, and it has. In numerous different forms, in so many different ways, with Choose teaser, of course, being used the most, we all know. But after these teasers that really told us nothing about what was to come for favourite, we got to the official debut of LOONA. I feel like I've said that thousands of times. I'm sorry, just the official debut. It's the debut. Do you know that? It's the first album. It's important. The album was 6 songs long and included a special intro that incorporates elements from previous subunit intros. Hi Hi, the title track of the album, is said to be one of high energy, emitting positive energy. We're back with blobbery in their descriptions. Come on now. I don't even know what to say. Let's say that again. High energy, emitting positive energy that the gathering of the 12 members create. Okay. Hi Hi is a fast-paced electronic pop song that is fitting to that of a video game. The song was produced by Monetary and Jaden, and the song is called Hi Hi because it has a dual meaning. Saying hi to the complete lineup of the 12 members and expressing the goals that the group had to climb up to the top of the music scene. And it's also said that the song reflects the members' high ambitions. Hi Hi's lyrical content was always known to be like a little goofy, as the girls have to sing, "Love is even more cruel than college entrance exams." Real. It's not quite on the level of "My kidneys are pounding," but it's still a bit silly, isn't it? It's camp. Recently, Jaden said in an interview that the Hi Hi lines, and presumably also the YY by Y lines, were like this as a way, like for attention, as a bid for attention to get more people to talk about LOONA, because the lyrics would be not shocking but definitely out there. The song features a high note at the end of the song that really wraps up the adrenaline of Hi Hi. At first, Hasul was going to sing that high note, but the part ended up going to Chu instead. Continuing the discussion about the line distribution earlier, it continued to be bad. It clearly showed a core lineup of important members. The lineup being Heejin, who sung 21% of the song, Jinsol, who sung 13%, Chu and Eve, who sung 12%, Kim Lip, who sung 11%, and Olivia Hare, who sung 9%. For everyone else, your lines could fluctuate between nothing or being one of those members I just mentioned, but it was more or not these members who I'm going to mention now who always got the short end of the stick. This included VV singing 2% of the song and Hasul not even singing more than 1% of the song. So I am not, and I have never been, a line distribution purist. I would say it's ridiculous for one member to have to carry an entire group's line distribution, but on the other hand, if it's just slightly unequal and not the perfect pie chart, it's not too big of a deal. K-pop is a performance-based genre, While yes, they are singers, and that doesn't excuse groups from sloppy live singing or constant lip syncing, it does mean that other members have other areas of expertise, and that doesn't always mean they need to sing more when they pull their weight in other areas. However, with LOONA, this approach makes no sense. If every member can pull their own weight on their own solo song, then why is the line distribution this skewed? You might think LOONA's a big group. Of course, not everyone's going to sing. There's only 3 minutes in a song, and 2 if you count the TikTok era of music we're living in. But the thing is, the line distribution doesn't need to be exactly equal. It needs to be justifiable on the basis of that member's singing skill. And it clearly wasn't. You'd be convinced, looking at LOONA's Blockberry line distribution, that throughout LOONA's run, members like Gowon, Hassel, Yeojin and Vivi were just incapable of singing their own lines. But how is that possible when they've already proven that they could carry a whole song by themselves? The only reason LOONA's line distribution was so poor was because Blockberry just had members they believed in and members they didn't. And the members they didn't believe in always got the short end of the stick, and that's what really made the line distribution a glaring problem for many fans. It could be argued, fans are always exaggerating about the line distribution. The idols, they don't really care that much. Recently, Momoland's Daisy said something similar to that effect, and I'm going to try and phrase this as politely as I can, but this is a problem I've always had with K-pop since whatever generation. Why join a girl group, a musical group, if you don't really care about singing and wouldn't mind other members doing all the work for you? If you don't view being an idol as a craft, being a group member as part of a collective team effort, then why become an idol? For a lot of idols, it's more about being seen and not heard. And that's why K-pop struggles to be taken seriously as a genre based on performance, because there's still music you need to sing at the end of the day. And I definitely believe the opposite was true for the members of LOONA. I always felt that the neglected members of LOONA always wanted to do more, but were always sidelined because nobody in Blockberry believed in them. The most telling was when LOONA got the opportunity to dish out their own line distribution, and suddenly these incapable or unfitting voices were given time to sing and they sounded phenomenal, proving that not only did they want to sing more, but Blockberry was wrong for this. Now would probably be the right time to mention that LOONA had no official placements or roles, meaning nobody was given the title of main vocalist or main singer. The only vague placement we ever got was Heejin being center, and that's kind of it. This arguably started a trend in K-pop to have a blank lineup because everyone is just so versatile and can take on any role. For LOONA it made sense. For everyone else except NMIXX it didn't. And personally, for a lot of groups having no roles, it just hindered the strength of their lineup. Because LOONA to me is one of the only groups who could actually claim that they were versatile enough to have no roles. They had way too many candidates for main vocalist and main dancer. There couldn't be one main vocalist and like 5 lead vocalist positions. There couldn't be one main dancer and 11 lead sub-dancer roles in there. Most groups have one ace, but I feel like you could say there's multiple aces in LOONA. Compared to other groups who had no positions, more for the purpose of a show-off marketing gimmick, LOONA had exchangeable positions because it was actually inconvenient and impossible to give out a role to one member when it fit so many different people. It was this that also helped LOONA have a leg up over their 4th generation contemporaries. At a time where main vocalists and vocal focus groups were on a decline, LOONA really did shine through to a lot of international fans who were craving for a group like LOONA. Anyways, getting back on track. Now, the way Hi Hi was received at the time compared to how it's received today is actually fascinating to me. Today, Hi Hi is reflected back on as one of LOONA's best title tracks and one of their most loved songs. But at the time of release, Hi Hi was kind of seen as a disappointment to a certain portion of the fandom. After all this hype that had been building, many wrote LOONA off as uninteresting or lacking in momentum because they chose a regular, cuter concept instead of something more experimental or impactful that people had come to expect from LOONA. For me, I think Orbits back then failed to see the bigger picture, which is also, as I said, how I felt about the people who didn't like Heejin's debut. For those Orbits who loved LOONA's R&B pop Odd Eye Circle sound, there was Favourite for you to enjoy. And for those who loved LOONA's cute electro pop 1/3 or YY by Y sound, there was Hi Hi. How I view it is that Odd Eye Circle and their sound was supposed to be an anomaly in LOONA's discography, and that overall the other two units were supposed to be more representative of what would be the LOONA sound. But for those same Orbits who loathed songs like Frozen or ignored 1/3's existence, their view of the LOONA sound was just the Odd Eye Circle sound, when that clearly wasn't what their saviour Jaden's vision seemed to truly be. It's weird because I remember at the time no Orbit hated Hi Hi, but no Orbit really loved it. Now that Hi Hi has become one of LOONA's most well-known and loved songs, all you can do is look back on the Orbits who were once let down upon its release and think, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. Like, you lot were in the good times and you didn't know and you were complaining. Well, this lukewarm response from fans at the time, you know, there were some who appreciated the title track but didn't think too highly of it, while there were others who were solely critical, became a pattern of behaviour for every LOONA release. I think that if Orbits had a collective nationality, it would be British, because Orbits love to complain about everything. Like, Orbits formed a bond together by talking about LOONA's music the same way British people bond by bitching about the weather. Also, can I just say, remember the pronunciation wars when American Orbits were like, British Orbits pronounce LOONA as LOONA? But they LOONA I think it was like that, but they say it like LOONA, right? I don't know. I can't do an American accent, I'm sorry. Basically, Orbits were never really truly happy with any management or rollout of LOONA's, I think ever. I think I could confidently say ever. And even the most adored songs of their discography weren't always received that well at some point. So, Hi Hi, thank you for kickstarting Orbit's miserable-itis. But now that we've discussed the promotions of title track Hi Hi, let's talk about the 5 other songs on the Plus Plus album. The Plus Plus album had 4 new B-sides and it included other pre-debut lead single Favourite. Plus Plus was perfect for the season it was released in. You know, it's a summer album. The whole album had a summer vibe. Especially B-side Heat, a track that proves a point that even without aggressive tempo, the temperature of the music can become heated up by the fervor of the girls. Okay. Perfect Love to me is like the song you'd play during the credits of like a Hi visual album. And I do think they played it during a screening of like the behind the scenes of the shooting of Hi. Then there was Stylish, which was a sleek future bass number, and it had a lot of memorable lyrics as it mixed Korean and English, including Keeping My Brightness, which was a favourable lyric to fans at the time because Jinsol sung it like bright knees with her amazing runs, you know, that's Jinsol. Then there was the lyric You're So Stylish, Korean mileage. Fans filled in the Korean words with English words reading fat pussy mileage. And this just became the official lyrics for international fans. We also can't forget the Orbit Swiftie wars. Talking about LOONA is so funny, like what is even going on? But basically, Orbitz playfully accused Taylor Swift of plagiarizing Stylish for her song Cruel Summer. I don't know how serious some Orbitz were being. Some were being serious, some were just joking. And then obviously Swifties are like, she didn't even know who Loona. It's definitely up there with the Orbit Eminem wars, for sure. I think for Loona's first ever mini album, it fit the times and it was thoroughly enjoyable. While Hi Hi had some Orbits on edge, maybe feeling a bit underwhelmed, the album as a whole was definitely well received by the fandom. The physical album had 4 different editions and it featured what Orbitz came to know as day and night units. The night unit were speculated to include Vivi, Cherry, Yeojin, Gowon, Chu and Hassel, and the day unit had Hyunjin, Olivia, Jinsol, Heejin, Kimblip and Eve. The day and night units never released music and was kind of just a way of organising the girls for album photo shoots. In reality, they were called the up and line units that were based on height, nothing too serious. But there was a lot of hype in the fandom about the possibility of these 2 units, but nothing ever really happened with them in the end. The album cover itself, digitally and physically, it beautifully pictures the girls at an empty swimming pool on those concrete diving boards. Based on subunit. 1/3 at the bottom, Odd Eye on the 2nd, Yeojin on the 3rd, and YY by Y on the highest ledge. And I have complained on this channel about K-pop album covers, how ugly and minimal they are, and I did get some comments that's like, yeah, but putting members on the cover is so tacky, and it's like, not really if you know how to frame it, if you have a good idea. I really do think that J-pop has better album covers than K-pop album covers these days, really, because they just write like a word and then release that. I'm like, so you put all this effort into this album, but you can't do like a nice, thoughtful photo shoot for that album. How does that make any sense? For the debut of all the members, Loona did a few photo shoots, some music shows and variety appearances to promote their debut album. One of the most reused and visible photo shoots of their era was the one that they did with Dispatch, which became very popular to use in articles about Loona. We barely got any photo shoots or pictorials around this time, so it made sense that one of the rare photo shoots they did end up being in became very overused, because it was all we were given. Loona also did a magazine spread with Star One, which I can't look at without thinking of that one tweet that explained when it looked like when the members were born. I'm going to put that up. The good old days, really. They also did a photo shoot in a shopping centre for Lotte Duty Free. The music show promotions for Hi Hi were a lot more intense and ongoing than previous subunit promotions. They had a little showcase first before their debut stage on M Countdown, and they received probably their most expensive set in their career. We never got to see the group perform on a set like this elaborate ever again, pretty much. They then performed on Music Bank, The Show, in Kakao, the regular places. Loona had said many times that they wanted their first win with Hi Hi, as in a way it would be indicative of the group's success. Orbitz tried really hard to make their dreams come true, but alas, it was way too difficult at this stage in their career and they ended up receiving no first win. The styling for Loona's debut on behalf of Kimin was pretty lackluster and abysmal. It was basically just the same stripy cotton jumper but in every colour of the rainbow. Sometimes she switched it up with a plaid skirt, vest or a long sleeve, but it was also repetitive that it just didn't come off well or make a good enough impression. Clothing bias is very strong when it comes to live performance, especially in such a visual genre like K-pop, and Kimin, either her lack in skill or her lack of budget, she never really did the group any favours when it came to performances. The only positive thing about Loona's styling was that they were very accessible. These tops that they wore, you could buy them from anywhere. You could probably even go to AliExpress and buy this top and it will probably be the same quality, for being for real. Orbitz bought them for covers and concerts. It was very similar to the way like Odd Eye Circle had very memorable and easy to find outfits, but I will say Odd Eye Circle's definitely a lot more iconic. But I have mine, which I bought specifically for this. On the choreography side, Hi Hi opened up with this moment where LOONA would turn around and lift their heads, and I always loved this because it was so reminiscent of Into the New World's choreography to me, implying that LOONA were like the next big thing, like a girl generation of sorts. We also were given a choreography video for Hi Hi. Clearly we were spoiled with Hi Hi performances at this point. Like, it felt like there was a new Hi Hi performance every day, and I think they promoted for a long time for Hi Hi. Fan sites followed LOONA to the music shows and to the fan signs, so we got a lot of pictures and content out of it. One of a few standout moments was Chu with her sandwich. I always loved that picture. And when she was like jumping out the car, they put that in every LOONA edit, it's that serious. And then the whole Heejin with her photo card, like she was plastering that photo card on her head. Oh, it's taking me back. It was at one of these fan signs that we saw the first glance at what would be LOONA's first viral moment in Korea, the Chu heart, which comprised of Chu doing this apple biting motion to make a heart. Chu's heart went mainstream in Korea and almost like every celebrity did it. There was also LOONA's radio show that was more of like a podcast where they spoke to fans with their camera off, which was called Frequency of the Moon. LOONA also had their anniversary live streams to celebrate how long it had been since their subunit or solo debut, which they had been doing for a little while pre-debut, but it wasn't long before we got a V-Live with the whole group. In November, LOONA held a small semi-concert, semi-fan meeting called LOONA Studio. And what a day this was. At the event, LOONA answered questions, performed their own songs while doing a few cover performances, and the artwork on the LOONA Studio tickets were provided by a famous anime artist called Hana Vibara. I remember Chu, Jinsol, Go-on and Yojin the most from LOONA Studio for various different reasons. Jinsol and Chu for their vocal performances that were spread via fancams from the concert, and Go-on because I'm a Go-on stan, of course I'm going to remember Go-on. And then I remember Yojin because she danced to a Nine Muses song, Dolls, which was great for me because I'm still to this day a very big fan of Nine Muses. LOONA have mentioned Nine Muses a few times, with Go-on rapping the beginning of Drama on one of her Frequency of the Moon episodes, and one of the former members of Nine Muses, Ryu Sarah, has reacted to LOONA's music videos. And I do know a lot of her reaction videos have been spread, especially in the LOONA fandom. LOONA Studio is less known for its performances and is more known for the lengths we had to go to even know what was going on at this event. Every day, Blockberry was beginning to accept LOONA's growing global popularity, or at least so we thought at the time. They needed money to keep LOONA profitable, so who cared where the money or interest was coming from? But on the other hand, Jaden and Blockberry at large still wanted to exclude us from certain events, and just like Cinema Theory, they were still dying on this hill of catering to LOONA's small cult domestic following, while kind of punishing their global fans, even though we were slowly becoming the biggest customer base. And the punishment for our interest in LOONA came in the form of fans being banned from recording the event in any capacity. Blockberry's goal for LOONA Studio was for it to be a secret meeting that couldn't be posted on the internet for the rest of us who didn't live in Korea to see. If you brought out your phone and tried to record anything, you were at high risk of being kicked out. Although Woobits and Hanbits never really got along, it was times like these that we got along because the Hanbits who made it into LOONA Studio's exclusive event were some of LOONA's devoted fan sites who wanted to record and take photos of the event. Some fans in Korea even risked their attendance at the event by trying to live stream it for us, and I cannot for the life of me remember which fan site or which fan account did this, but I do remember at one point there was a live stream from someone's pocket, like someone's coat pocket. Regardless of Blockberry's strict rules against recordings, Hanbits was still going to defy the rules and record some fancams because Who did BBC look like trying to piss off their Korean fanbase even more than they already had? But not everyone got away with it. LOONA themselves never really seemed to care about Blockberry's strict rules for recording at these exclusive events. In fact, I don't think it would be much of a stretch to say that they thought the rules were like overboard and unnecessary. This gave us this famous moment of Chu making eye contact with a fan's secret camera and winking. And then for the fans who were kicked out of the event for recording, we have Go-on's iconic disturbed face. We don't talk about this one as much as the Chu moment, but I will always remember her face. Blockberry tried with all their might to suppress content from LOONA's studio, but they had failed miserably. Every year in K-pop there is awards season, and it feels kind of funny saying awards season in reference to K-pop, like this is the Oscars.
This ain't the Oscars, is it?
And for most groups, awards season in K-pop is pretty much just the big four companies up their own arse, and then a few rare lucky small companies that these broadcasting stations can't ignore because they became so popular, like have their little shot and then that's it. But because LOONA had gained some semblance of popularity, and so they were invited to the Mama Awards. At the time, there was a semi-viral Stan Twitter meme of LOONA going down the escalator. You know, these were the days where there will be one video and you would get spammed by that video for like a good day. Like, I remember just the same video of LOONA going down the escalator on repeat. And they arrived on the red carpet in these outfits. Now, I, just like many people, many international fans, especially anyone who has ever seen a Korean celebrity at the Met Gala, like I have wondered, is it just like out of respect that they dress boring? I mean, just a question, just a respectful question. I'm gonna have to cut that out. I don't know. We'll see if this makes it in or not. But I'm just curious. I think the whole world is curious because I've never really seen a K-pop group like turn a look like on the red carpet before. So it's not just LOONA, it's everyone. But this one in particular, this has got to be one of like the worst looks LOONA ever wore. It's just disastrous. Out of 12 members, not one girl looks anywhere near good. How do you have 12 chances and you ruin them all? How is that possible? Don't buy your LOONA from Next is all I'm going to say. It was LOONA's dream when they made their group debut to win Rookie of the Year at one of these shows. But LOONA's popularity was severely underestimated and overlooked, so the chances of them winning that award was very low. But we all knew, like, if we, at the time, we all were like, oh, they're gonna win. We knew deep down that wasn't gonna happen. But we believed for a short moment. We had faith. What played a factor in the sidelining of LOONA at every awards season after this was the fact that the industry blanked them because Blockberry had lesser industry power to sway the board of whoever's deciding these awards. Case in point, their infamous Mama performance and the fallout of that performance. For a girl group who was one of the most anticipated for the past year, and I'm not saying they were on IZ*ONE level. I keep saying IZ*ONE all the time, I'm so sorry. I guess because I think at the time they were like the standard. Even with the hype that they had, LOONA were given such like a rushed and sort of like disastrous stage. I didn't think it was too bad, but nobody was happy about it. I look back on it and I'm like, you innocent, like, poor things. You don't know what's coming. I mean, I miss when all there was to complain about LOONA was like a rush stage. Like, I miss those days. So they performed their subunit songs before all collectively performing Hi Hi in a total of 3 minutes. They got 3 minutes for all those songs. Wow. At the end they did the Chew Heart, and just to mention, for a good while LOONA had to do like the Chew Heart at every stage. Like, I do remember there was a point where at the end of Hi Hi for like a good while they would just do this, like the Chew Heart. to be like to the Korean public, oh my god, it's us, we made the Chew Heart, like look at us. Like it was because the Chew Heart was something they had become well known for, mostly Chew, but they were trying to use the Chew Heart to try and expand their reach to the general public in Korea. So it will be like, you know, this is what I'm imagining Blockberry was thinking. Besides that, they had that like stupid giraffe, oh my god. That backdrop, the giraffe backdrop, it didn't connect, it didn't make sense. This became a meme in the fandom for a little while, like at the time. It was very funny at the time, but then it got tired. But people still laugh about it to this day, and I'm like, oh my god, how are we still here? The show ended years ago. It's probably been 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't count. And, you know, to this day, you know, in general, it really wasn't too bad, at least to me. I think at the time it seemed bad considering how much we had hyped up LOONA, similar to how people felt about Hi Hi. Like, with all the hype attached, the expectation was different. But today I'm like, could have been worse. It wasn't too bad. The girls performed well. I thought they did a good job with what like short time they were allocated. Of course, coming from a smaller label, we all knew they were bound to be treated this way. We knew this. Mama in 2018 kind of stands as the only award show LOONA were ever invited to either perform or receive an award. They went to like one more in the next era, and then they just stopped turning up. And they did go to little ceremonies here and there, but none of on that Mama level like before. You know, I don't know what happened, but maybe Kimin just ran out of tacky black fabric, so LOONA just never had anything to wear, and that's why. You never know. So during the Mama Awards, there was a controversy on Orbit Twitter at the time because LOONA apparently had less time to perform than other girl group Nature, which resulted in the iconic Nature livestream moment. Just to say, the creator of that moment seen in that clipped live stream regrets what they said, which is why I'm not going to show the video, and also why you don't really need to look it up. It's not necessary. The other day I saw some probably new orbits talking about this video, and it's like, wow, so much time has passed. That live stream is orbit history. Like, I remember being there on the TL when it happened, like when that clip was spread everywhere. And I just want to say that things back in the day were like so different, like back in the day being 2018 and 2019. But during this 2018 to 2019 era, orbits were right in the middle of this like pop girl Twitter like atmosphere, and things were a lot different. I think back then orbits were running troll Twitter like the Navy, at least like on girl group Twitter. And I just want to say that that video isn't related. And that's because through 2018 to 2019, we were in the middle of what I believe to be girl group stan Twitter's best years, or like its heyday. Not only did we have genuine underdogs in the industry seeing a big boost in popularity, but we were making this transition into a new generation of K-pop that girl groups quickly dominated, while up-and-coming boy groups started to stagnate or lose popularity. We also can't underestimate how much girl group stan Twitter played a role in LOONA's earlier success, and how it became a significant place where community was built within the fandom. For those who weren't there, 2018 and 2019, it really was like girl group stan Twitter's like most troll era. That's for sure. It was the girl we just sold nothing days, when AIDS were roaming around doing God knows what. The we irritating era, the Suri era. It was definitely a time where girl group Twitter was like at peak hilarity, because nobody took anything seriously and everyone would just say whatever about whatever group, and other girl group fandoms wouldn't be offended because all these groups were in a community with each other, and every fandom, like every girl group fandom had crossover. If you were on Twitter at the time, I remember it was the funniest period of stan Twitter in my opinion. Things back then were just so much more simple. Back then there would be some kind of like meme format being passed around pop girl Twitter or gay troll Twitter. I mean, speaking about this out loud makes me feel so unemployed. I'm sorry. And I also think A lot of these memes were a precursor to how AAVE would be repackaged to non-black audiences as trendy Gen Z slang from TikTok. Like, when I see these memes, I'm like, because I just knew deep down that the white gays were making these memes. And I think this isn't a reach at all, considering that homophobic Millie Bobby Brown originated from these gay troll accounts on Twitter. Like, and to this day there are still people sharing memes from this period not knowing that they were dated. Like, the cycle was so quick. But anyways, I'm going off topic, but just some background as to what the fandom was like at this time and how LOONA were kind of on the up and coming because of this environment and this side specifically of Stan Twitter and certain orbits' involvement with it helped build this reputation that LOONA had a white gay fandom. For a good while, whenever another fandom tried to attack LOONA, they wrote us all off as being like white gays, which this was far from the truth. LOONA always had a diverse fandom, diverse in gender, diverse in race and sexuality, and this claim that everyone who stan LOONA was a white gay was just false. And if you want evidence, the evidence is my own eyes. I've been to a LOONA concert and it was a diverse mix of people, at least in London, that's for sure. And also online, you could tell by the fact that there would be like black orbit Twitter and then like the white orbits, like, and then the Korean orbits, like it really was like a lot. And then the orbits from the Philippines, and then, you know, it really was a mixture of people. It really wasn't just like white gays. I just wanted to say that because that was a stigma. I'm making this sound so serious. It was a stigma. I'm sorry. It was a stereotype. It was a Stacey stereotype, okay? It was also in these early days that the fandom became compulsive liars. Similar to how Stan LOONA was birthed, it all originated from this belief in the fandom that LOONA deserved more attraction but couldn't gain it because of, you know, the circumstances. Small company, yeah, we get it. So the solution was to spam or come up with whatever you could about LOONA that would make noise. In this case, orbits were famously convinced that making up all sorts of fake, attention-grabbing facts and misinformation would get more people interested in LOONA. And surprisingly, this tactic ended up working extremely well, as it seems nearly every orbit today remembers that like first orbit lie that got them to stan LOONA. It even tricked people outside of the K-pop fandom to believe that LOONA were like one of the biggest names in K-pop because they were always somehow a topic of conversation on the internet, especially in like 2019 to like 2020 or even like 2018, like these years. The name of the game was to come up with a completely ridiculous lie about LOONA that if you were an orbit, you knew that it was false. And then other orbits would swarm your replies and echo your lie. And this public community bonding over lying was the secret to getting people to believe or spread the lies, thus spreading the word of mouth about LOONA. The lies included almost anything and everything. The most common type of lies being LOONA were related to other celebrities and had a multitude of famous friends. LOONA had numerous made-up successful careers. LOONA had beef with Jeffree Star and was suing Lana Del Rey. LOONA were biracial. LOONA were famous lesbians worth billions of dollars. LOONA were Trump supporters, communists, post-apocalyptic roach tamers, LGBT activists, well, that's kind of true. Furries, the real reason behind the Beatles' success. Guests on Queen Radio.
My name is Two.
Nobody's fucking with you. Like, please no. Like, please understand this.
Wow.
Nobody is fucking with you. Okay?
아니에요. I'm not well.
And of course, as LOONA were part of the Stan Twitter ecosystem of the time, they ran over gays during the Millie Bobby Brown era and knew Cupcake, with Cupcake herself responding to one of these lies with, "I don't remember hanging with them. I think these girls asked to take a pic with me at the mall yesterday." Now, on paper, these all sound absurd, but the enthusiasm in which Orbits as a collective would freely spread these inside jokes like lies as fact made it easy for others outside of the fandom to believe. The lesbian billionaire story in particular, that was a parody of Ujung's Chinese billionaire story, seemed to have struck a chord when BuzzFeed News had to spoil the fun by fact-checking, in which Seth Rogen replied in disappointment, "You better be fucking sorry." And can you even say that Orbit started this when Blockberry were in fact the original biggest liars? It was actually Blockberry staff who made up that Heejin was half Russian, like as a lie to fool Eve, and she believed that for a good while as well. And that $9 million claim is looking suspicious, a bit unbelievable. And then they were telling Gowon that she was going to be Adam. But as time passed, the fandom grew, and the lies became unsustainable. Newer stans kept giving away the game by replying, "Is this another Orbit lie? Orbits are liars," and so on. And so the lies couldn't be spread or believed because Orbits weren't believing them themselves. Like, the newer Orbits had been fooled and now didn't know how to do all of this. Usually if you see something and everyone around you is like saying, "That's true, that's fact," even with no evidence, people will believe it. But if you see something and then there's people in the comments like, "Is this a lie? That must be a lie. It's a lie." It just doesn't work anymore. But that being said, that doesn't mean everything Orbits have ever said is a lie. For example, I forgot to mention or to tell you guys in the first part, but I missed out on some key information about Gowon, and that is that she's Irish, and I'm so sorry I withheld that information. I completely forgot, but yes, Gowon is Irish. So just in case you didn't know, just to remind you all that not everything is a lie. I've spoken about this numerous times on my channel and probably in the first part, but one thing that will go down in history is the way Orbits accidentally ended up defining what stan culture was on the internet. And I do think it's because they were really mingling with that side of Twitter, like they were really in there. And I think it's just because Orbits were funny. There was something about LOONA's fandom that had a lot of crossover appeal with so many other fandoms. And I think this all links back to the whole Odd Eye Circle revolution because there were so many newer fans brought in to Odd Eye Circle who were just like regular pop listeners, and then it kind of all connected. And slowly, like as the fandom grew, Orbits did become so mainstream online that other people in other fandoms who hated K-pop were now communicating using things that originated from a K-pop fandom. First of all, we had the Stan LOONA meme, which then became a placeholder for every single personal thing ever. And then there was what became of fancams. In the beginning, fans of Daya, AIDS, were tweeting over and over again a teaser video for their new song, Woo Woo. You know, the Tinashe era. Daya's Tinashe era. Aid were basically terrorizing the timeline with that video, and it found its way to like 1 million views off of this spamming of that video. But how fancams got into the mix and started to be spread the way they are today all came from Orbits. It all began with this sweet crazy love fancam of Cherry. This fancam was posted by a Korean fan account on Twitter, Nebula Vivi. Naturally, Cherry's fancam gained views from its posting earlier that year, and in December of 2018, it had reached 1 million views. Aristra Princessa Connect These Dots, who I've probably spoken about in the first part, planned on telling Cherry about her fancam reaching 1 million views at the next LOONA fan sign at the time coming up. Now, fancam views are at the most meaningless. They're meaningless views. It really doesn't matter. But how we got here today is all because of the meaning this fancam of Cherry had. After reaching 1 million views and the vow that Aristra Princessa was going to tell Cherry about it, Nebula Vivi deleted the fancam. It's widely speculated that Nebula Vivi did this for a laugh and for attention. And I remember this day so clearly. It was just so messy. Orbits they were about to behead Nebula Vivi. They were going to put her head on a stick. They were going to burn her. It was a witch hunt. Cherry, as you know, was boycotted by Korean fans when she debuted. Her fan sign was abandoned and her album sales were at a low point. Love Cherry Emotion was popular to international orbits, but even when she debuted with the full group, it seemed that her popularity was always squashed between the members pushed by BBC and the members that weren't. She was always in that middle period. This is what Ristra Princessa had to say about the fan cam being deleted, and they were like the one who started this all by telling orbits they were going to show the fan cam to Cherry and then it was deleted, and Ristra Princessa wasn't happy with that, saying, "Why do LOONA fans always do this to Yerim, Cherry?" From pre-debut era too, just because they were disappointed in BBC, they didn't want to come to Cherry's fan sign and they didn't want to buy Cherry's album, so it didn't sell well. And now you did this to Cherry too, and I did see some newer fans try and paint Ristra Princessa someone who didn't like Cherry. Like, if you've been here for a while, you know that Ristra Princessa was at that fan sign. Like, that is her footage. She was there on, like, live on the scene, okay? This fan cam was the perfect opportunity to show Cherry evidence of her work being well received by fans, but Nebula Vivi deleted the fan cam. This left many fans upset that the fan cam was gone because the next fan sign was coming up and there would be no fan cam to show Cherry. Fans asked around for screenshots of the fan cam, but nobody prepared for the likelihood Nebula Vivi would delete it. So it's like, why would anyone screenshot the views of the fan cam? No one had any screenshots of it. Another account, Loon Army Once Cam, introducing the Loon Armies to the orbit lore, to controversy. There was so many Loon Armies around this time, was there not? Or I don't know whether they're still here, but I remember in the beginning they were like a big thing and they caused a lot of drama, but not in this case. So Loon Army Once Cam was an account who reposted the Cherry fan cam, and everybody was like panicking trying to get the views back as quick as possible. Orbits rushed around Twitter posting the fan cam everywhere. They went from posting the fan cam under verified celebrity tweets that had nothing to do with K-pop to random viral tweets that had nothing to do with K-pop. The fan cam was posted with no caption, no stream my fan cam. It was just the video, and this was actually hilarious to me at the time. This worked, it worked. It was successful. In 2 days, the fan cam had its 1 million views back. It's funny because if you look back on this moment really was like an Oppenheimer moment. Like, this is how spamming fan cams came into the fold of K-pop stan Twitter, and then it spread all across stan Twitter, and then it just went everywhere. Near the end of 2019, fan cams had terrorized every Twitter user across the platform, and replying with fan cams started to become shunned by everyone. Outsiders of K-pop wrote articles about fan cams and how they were ruining Twitter discourse. Who cares really, but apparently these journalists did. People who already hated K-pop used this as an opportunity to hate it even more. Reddit K-pop stans, all high and mighty as they always are, they were trying to like frame the children within the K-pop fandom. They were like making us look bad. They were so annoying, and they were giving K-pop a bad name. You know, please. Even with fan cams being used for performative activism, I'm sure some of the activism was real, but K-pop stans are definitely performative activists. Is that the right phrase? Yeah. Even when it was used in that way, and that kind of got some respect from the general public. The culture of spamming fan cams died out on K-pop Twitter by late 2020, but only on K-pop Twitter it seemed, because now edits became fan cams. Who remembers that strange switch up? Because there was no fan cams in other fandoms, because fan cams came from Korea. It's a Korean thing. But because they didn't have any, they would just make edits and then call it a fan cam. And I remember just being so confused, like, what do you mean? This to me is really a butterfly effect moment, because what if Nebula Vivi never deleted the fan cam? What if Ristra Princessa never wanted to show Cherry the fan cam? Then none of this would have happened. Like, we would not have this cultural phenomenon online of fan cams. This would never have happened this way at all. And this further cemented orbits as like unintentional trendsetters. because now with Stan Loona this, it really was like anything Orbits were doing, everyone wanted to do and then hate on it and be like, Orbits are so annoying. Like, you were using the same method, so. But it did really show how Orbits really did have a big presence as a fandom. So let's just pretend I'm recording this all on the same day and I haven't just washed this and then put it back on and then done this again. Okay, this is from the same day, I assure you. For every fandom, there are fans that kind of become micro influencers. It's cringy to use that word unironically, so let's just say these kinds of fans could be better described as main characters of the fandom. This is because these fans influenced or aided the fandom in a way that impacted everyone. LOONA inspired a lot of creative people, and so we had some of the best creators in our fandom. Where else can I start other than Oreri or Ori? I'm so sorry. That rhymed. Oreri's account was created in July of 2018, which was a little while before LOONA's group debut. As mentioned in the first part, Oreri is a translation account who has documented and translated pretty much everything in English from 2018 to today on their account. Oreri has like over 100,000 followers on Twitter, and I don't think it will be that much of an over-exaggeration to claim that they are probably the most recognizable Orbit in the fandom. Blobbery couldn't always provide instant translations, but Oreri was always there live tweeting whatever LOONA was doing. And I can't help but feel like Oreri played a huge role in building LOONA's international fandom because they made being an Orbit more accessible. One account I didn't mention is LOONA Press. I just love the name LOONA Press, I'm not gonna lie. I just think it's so fun. LOONA Press is the news, okay? We also have Reorbit. How could we forget Reorbit? Now, they were making sure everybody voted for whatever. In the earlier days, since the group's formation as 12, the girls had individual picture accounts tenfold. And these picture accounts, based on one member of LOONA, were challenging the follower count of entire other groups. And yet, people would put them in the same category of popularity as these other groups. Like, yes, LOONA wasn't like the most known girl group of the time, but it's not like they were Nugu, but they was at the time they were still compared to these groups as if they were in the same lane as them, which wasn't true. Some of these picture accounts aren't as active or popular as they were years ago, but even then you still have LOONA Log or LOONA Loops, a classic, who are still followed by many Orbits today. When it came to the creative side of the Orbit fandom, we need to talk about Zero Colors, who deserve some kind of award for all just the intricately designed edits they've made for LOONA over the years. Zero Colors has 20,000 followers on Twitter and 21,000 subscribers on YouTube, and whenever they would post anything, it would usually go viral in some capacity. Another famous creator within the LOONA fandom was Xander, a talented producer who has 150,000 subscribers and went on to produce songs for actual K-pop idols. Xander is well known for their fan-made content of LOONA that included albums and remixes. Great for the boycott, not gonna lie. There is also Rap No 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 that specialised in LOONA moments, along with Twinfish, which I've mentioned before, but Twinfish is long gone. There was also other Looniverse theory accounts like Luminosity. In the earlier years, now this is my personal favourite, there was LOONA Facts 12, who just posted random very true facts about LOONA. If you think I'm missing someone like a certain Dia, we are probably going to be discussing them at a future time, at a later date. Let's save that. Other accounts part of Orbit legend include Bart the World. Bart the World is kind of ancient Orbit lore at this point, as according to really early pre-debut Orbits, Bart the World was one of the most avid fans of LOONA. He played a big role in cultivating LOONA's fandom as he had a YouTube channel of 78,000 loyal subscribers. Then one day he disappeared and Orbits, lunatics at this point, searched for him everywhere. there was a running conspiracy that he was now working at Blockberry because the last time they had seen him, he said that he was going on a trip to Korea. Now that sounds so far-fetched. Bar eventually returned and denied these claims and said he was leaving the fandom to recover from sinking too deep into stan culture. Maybe I should do that too. I mean, look at me. I'm not going to go into detail about the most infamous orbit of all time, but if you recognize what I'm about to do and what I'm about to refer to, then you deserve compensation. On the other hand, newer well-loved orbits include True Lover and 4Kim Lip. Oh my god. And they are still very prominent in the fandom today. I find that orbits in general are very rare compared to other K-pop fandoms, and they often have more in common with the behavior of like a pop girl stan community than to K-pop stans. I saw a TikTok like a long time ago that someone dragged onto Twitter that equivalated LOONA to Astro as a boy group. You know, what's LOONA equivalent to? But you know, the real comparison we should be making is that orbits are definitely the angels of the K-pop fandom, like the Charlie XCX stans. Both fandom wise, and I know as I'm part of both for many years, just like Charlie XCX, LOONA might not be the highest charting group of all time, but they still have a cult fandom and great music, a stable fan base, and enough success to keep going. And also both fandoms are notorious complainers. I mean, angels complain to no end. Even with how successful Brat was, before Brat came out, there were still some fans of Charlie saying, oh, I don't know about this era, she's trying too hard. Like, even at the peak, even at their peak. In general, a lot of other fandoms' top most beloved, like fan account, are usually people that shill for the company, who pretend to like things when they don't, who never have anything negative to say, and who try to get people reported for essentially jokes, who are basically the fun police. However, orbits always had fun. I think that you could tell that orbits were different. Oh my god, not like the other girls. I think that you could tell that orbits were way different because just look at who is one of the most like top accounts. And it's not someone who would just sit there and lie and partake in all this behavior that most of other famous accounts would. And through thick and thin, the fandom was always commiserating together. And that's what I've always loved about orbits as a fandom, is that they were always real, like no matter what. And on the other hand, and they knew how to have a good laugh. Orbits always spoke their mind, even to their detriment, but usually to their benefit. And that turned out to be a great strength that LOONA needed. LOONA had been promoting since late August, and they concluded promotions for the Plus Plus era in October. And so for the first time in LOONA history, we were going through a drought of content, a drought of music. And the reason why the drought was rendered as terrible as it was because we had never gone contentless before. Every single month, LOONA had pumped out new singles and albums. We had never, as a fan base, had to go a month without new music. This was a reality so specific to LOONA that fans had to process the fact that life as a devoted stan of LOONA was about to change drastically than what we knew it to be in the pre-debut era. What was difficult about adjusting from pre-debut to debut era was that Blockberry was terrible at social media management and marketing. The LOONA members shared one account like most K-pop groups, but their social media was so strict and so lackluster that we barely got to see what LOONA were up to outside of promotions. And it's not like we needed to see what was happening every day, but it was like, if there's just silence, it becomes very awkward, strange. On LOONA TV, we didn't even get like full length vlogs, nothing. Loonatic, on the other hand, was always like uploaded videos that weren't new and seemed to have been taken like a long time ago. Selfies of the members were just sparse and all over the shop. It was the lack of proper social media creation and then the sudden lack in music and promotions we had become so attached to, mostly the constant release of music, that really fed into the feeling of a drought. The only positive thing that came out of LOONA's hiatus was that whenever there was an influx of newer orbits, they had many months to catch up. I know for newer orbits it must be so much fun, especially at that time, because they just arrived and they could just listen to like a whole discography. So while older orbits were waiting impatiently for new music, the newer orbits were soaking up like the 80 or so songs they had missed when the group debuted, or before the group debuted I should say. But at last, after months of LOONA's first hiatus, we would finally get LOONA's first comeback. LOONA's first ever comeback, XX, was announced on New Year's Eve, meaning that this X1X trailer was dropped on the dot right as it was New Year's. I remember this as clear as day. When I tell you that this was like the most exciting moment ever as an orbit, you just had to be there. The building suspense from the hiatus and straight into the new year, it was iconic. In one video teaser, Blockberry proposed a certain idea to the orbit fandom. For all LOONAs around the world and to all LOONAs around the world. This message was supposed to include us as fans around the world and to make us feel like we are all part of LOONA. Korean orbits turned this into a joke by saying that if they didn't get tickets for LOONA's next concert, they'd just run up on stage because they're also LOONA. We are all LOONA. Who's stopping us? The video teasers for XX were a nice surprise and really built up a lot of hype. Even as someone who found it difficult to understand the Loonaverse, seeing Go On in Iceland still got a gasp out of me. The teaser photos did too. Despite the teasers being very minimalist in the sense that it was just the LOONA members standing in a lofty white room with the curtains blowing, the girls really brought everything together as their presence made the teasers seem more substantial than they actually were. The most talked about teaser was Cherry, who was seen with bright purple dyed hair, her signature colour. And I think previously Vivi was the only LOONA member who had dyed her hair her signature colour, so this was kind of a big deal. Hassel also got the bob. Oh my god. She looks so beautiful. I mean, oh my god. Bad news though, Kim Lip had those weird blonde extensions and her stans were so like annoyed. They were like, take it out, like just take it out. I think we also knew some of the hairstyle changes as well a little while before the teasers because there was some kind of like filming they were doing and it got leaked. For the new title track, Butterfly, LOONA released a striking music video that became universally loved and praised by fans. And this catapulted the song to a bigger audience internationally, helping attract more to the fandom. The music video featured beautiful scenery that featured a diverse representation of women around the world, linking Butterfly's empowering message to young women and girls. As South Korea is a homogeneous country, their entertainment industry is very bad at representing other cultures in a way that isn't derogatory, or even just at all. From tokenism, stereotyping, cultural appropriation, colorism, objectification, white saviorism. It was always bad. And hints of this othering and fetishism could be seen in how K-pop music videos presented other cultures. Black women were often used as props in certain K-pop music videos to aid Korean boy groups in feeling black and edgy and cool, as they wanted to parrot black men's objectification of black women to try and fit into hip-hop. And we can't forget the aesthetification of other cultures found in K-pop media that sees Korean companies taking from cultural traditions they don't even understand or have any respect for, all for it to turn into a manufactured, beautified aesthetic to sell products. It's this K-pop landscape that Butterfly seemingly looked down upon, with marginalized women getting to represent their own culture for themselves instead of having it passed down to Korean groups to look trendy. Butterfly, along with its beautiful synth-heavy chorus and emotional drop, was given a chance to explore themes in visual and sound that many K-pop companies were too tasteless to ever come up with. This is exactly why Digipedi works so well with LOONA, because unlike their previous abstract style that was easily identifiable and shared around with multiple groups, Digipedi honed their skills with LOONA, creating some of the best music videos for them in the entire fourth generation. To a Western eye, Butterfly was all pretty standard representation, but in the scale of what we had seen throughout Korean television or music, it was groundbreaking. Butterfly's music video is probably the only piece of Korean media that I've seen that has positive representation of people of colour. The music video was shot in the Earth locations of LOONA 1/3, Paris, Tokyo, Iceland, Taiwan and Hong Kong. It also featured a massive set that was built. It's like these big blue arches, like blue and purple arches with water surrounding it. The behind the scenes was also so cute because they were like playing in the rain. As you can see from the behind the scenes videos and any pictures of this set, you can tell that it was expensive, and it seemed like Blockberry never made the most out of it, seemingly leaving a lot of money on the table. There was also the infamous red butterfly dresses seen from the behind the scenes, and yet it wasn't included in the music video. Digipedi wasn't shy about how costly the set was after he posted on Instagram shading Blockberry by saying, "What a waste of expensive set." The Butterfly album had 4 different versions. The digital album cover, worked on by Mugang, had the girls sit in a full circle with these butterfly wings. LOONA's second best group album cover, actually, did I put plus first on this metaphorical tier ranking? I don't know, but maybe above. The song's message about spreading your wings and finding your strength, which creates this atmosphere of female empowerment seen within the music video and within the song itself, just makes the song one of LOONA's best. During the boycott, I had downloaded Zunda's rearranging of the XX album, and their extended version of Butterfly is actually amazing. I was listening to it the other day and I started crying, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so emotional thinking about LOONA. And then I woke up the next day and I had my period, and I was like, oh, the song is really good. I recommend you try and download that album. It's free on YouTube. Then there was Satellite, which starts calmly, but I'm not going to read all this. I think this is another one of Blockberry's explanations. Do we really need more of those? Okay, whatever. Satellite, Curiosity, great songs. Next. We all know this. And then the album closes with Where You At, which is like a nice soft ballad. On limited editions of the XX album, there were hidden tracks known as Daydream and Stay With Me Babe. LOONA performed a lot of the B-sides to the XX album compared to the Plus Plus era, where they were just performing High on repeat. Colors had a part of the choreography where members would disappear like a magic trick, and Cherry seemed to have become so accustomed to it as she went viral for just doing it automatically because of her muscle memory. And also to mention, LOONA's choreographer was Hyungkyu Kim. Butterfly utilizes elegant synchronized choreography, and LOONA went to festivals, music shows and on dance performance channels to promote it. For the live stages on music shows, LOONA blew people away with their skilled choreography. Remember that not too long ago, both Jinsol and Hassel, the strongest vocalists in the group, were struggling with dance as they didn't go to academies, and yet in a short amount of time they had managed to grasp such complex choreography. It seems that while the other girls were debuting, they were putting so much effort into improving themselves and their skill and their talent. The members would lie on the floor and Gohan would be lifted on a pedestal formed by Eve and Olivia. Sometimes they'd hold hands when they were on the floor, which went platinum in any shipping edit. For the majority of their era, they wore corsets, frilly shirts and black trousers. The reason why their outfits for XX look so good compared to previous era was because Kimin was back to stealing. Similarly to Hi, they wore this simple combination over and over again with minimal tweaks. It really was like the LOONA version of, you know, that anime. Oh god, it's been years. I haven't watched anime in years, but you know, the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, right? I'm saying this like no one knows what that is. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what I'm talking about, but it really was given like Endless 8, you know? Every time LOONA would just rewear the same thing over and over again. At one point, LOONA were caught getting some ice cream with their shirts untucked, and it kind of like broke the illusion.
튀어나왔다. 저기 전희진 씨. 어머.
The worst rendition of the butterfly fit was the cabbage purple version, and the best was probably the black sheer and white shirt originals. As I said earlier, LOONA wore these like red frilly dresses for the music video, but that was never used. Like, the footage for that was never used, it seems. And fans were like begging to see LOONA perform in these dresses, or like seeing like, you know, what content that was for. And we did eventually get to see it, because the members of LOONA would do a very special performance in the dresses. Members Heejin, Eve, Kim Lip, Olivia Hare and Cherry eventually got to wear them for a special cover performance of Sunmi's Full Moon. And I think that came at like a very turbulent, well, for LOONA everything is turbulent, but I remember at that time like things were definitely off balance. Like, I can't fully remember, but I know that that performance, it definitely was a moment. I don't know how to describe it, but this brings into question something that LOONA were doing a lot of at this point, which was outfit repeating. I thought that it was so normal in the K-pop industry to rent certain pieces, because a lot of former idols talk about that. But it seemed that Blockberry had bought everything for LOONA. Like a lot of the stuff that they were re-wearing were just stuff that they had actually bought, and they just had the same stuff on repeat. Like, they weren't renting nothing. So I can't imagine how expensive that was. I guess you could spin this and say that LOONA are not unfashionable when they were dressed by Kimin. It was actually a statement against overconsumption. LOONA attended kcon LA in August, and this was a pivotal moment in the group's career as the members finally got to see how popular they were outside of East Asia. As we've spoken about before, LOONA had a small cult fandom in Korea, so much so that despite their rise in popularity in more global markets, LOONA could go about their business because nobody really recognized them in Korea like that. Like, they could just go about their day. And kcon LA shattered this perception of LOONA. IZ*ONE, who were now the biggest girl group in the fourth generation of K-pop at the time, who LOONA had lost Best New Female Artist to in 2018, had less of a core fandom in the West compared to LOONA, which is shocking. Obviously, as IZ*ONE's overseas core fandom was in Japan, that's completely fine. I'm not putting one over the other. I hate when people do that. They're both valid for different reasons. That's fine. I'm just mentioning this as a massive compliment, because to be from an unknown company and be able to go up against the biggest group in K-pop at the time in another market is actually extremely impressive. You might be asking, what's my source for this? How do I know this? Well, there was both groups' arrival at the airport, in which Orbit specifically waited to greet LOONA. Just iconic, oh my god, the memories. Orbits all lined up so they could see them walk past and then crowded around their bus to welcome them. And I'm going to have to put the difference between the two videos up, because if I don't, I'm just going to look crazy. So I do not mean this in a shady way at all. As I said, IZ*ONE were literally massive, okay? I'm not saying that's not true, and I'm not saying that LOONA were on their level. I'm saying in another market, they managed to have more fans than them, which was kind of insane if you think about it. An orbit who went to greet Loona in LA was live streaming what was going on, and just the screenshots I have from this live stream, I can't believe they survived this long, but I just have them sitting around in my camera roll. That's why I said my camera roll was a good source, because I just have all this stuff in there of Loona. Loona's appearance at kcon LA being so popular was one of the first moments that Loona got to experience the reality of their growing fame in the West. People spotted them shopping at Target, and I think this is also the trip when that guy like posted that on Snapchat of them with the glasses over the head. Oh my god, everyone knows that one. At this point, Loona had heard of Stan Loona, but they didn't really get it, but they still encouraged us to use it anyway. At fan signs, we were introduced to Cherry's pet cockroach. It was like a toy cockroach that she just carried around for like a brief moment in time. And this of course was passed down through broken telephone, like in the Orbit fandom, because at some point, some newer Orbits really believed that she had like a pet cockroach, like she really had a pet cockroach, but no, it was just like a one day like plastic thing. My favorite moment from the Butterfly era, like so many Orbits from this time, was their bowling V Live. Loona went to a bowling alley and they just spent the whole live stream messing about, and it was so entertaining.
난 이거 싫어서 솔직히 볼링 안 쳤다. 아빠가 맨날 이거 뭐야? 뒤를 찍어줘야 돼.
I really do think this had to be the first time we had seen Loona in an environment that wasn't so controlled by BBC Star. On the actual kcon stage, they performed Butterfly, Hi Hi, and a cover of BTS's Not Today. The Not Today cover became one of many times Loona will perform songs by boy groups. They covered Cherry Bomb by NCT, Eclipse by GOT7, and Fire by BTS. And I forgot to mention that Loona starred in Idol Room with Fromis 9 a year prior, where they did a lot of dances to boy groups there too. Loona's boy group covers were met with support by fans, and these dance performances further proved Loona's dance capability. But as the years passed, many fans wanted to see Loona cover more girl group choreographies, but alas, we never really got professionally shot ones. I think that Loona at this point were being held up as some kind of anti-girl group starting from this era and onwards for a little while. They weren't too feminine, they continued to do more rigorous choreography that was more attributed to boy groups, and they never really returned to the cute concept again. Except maybe we'll get there. I like that Loona were battling industry sexism by showing that through their content that they could do the same things boy groups did. But at the same time, I disliked how the media took this and made it seem like Loona weren't like the other girls. What was this interview that Hyunjin did, and she made this comment and they cut it out and made it seem like this was like an I'm not like other girls moment, and you could see like a blatant cut. Like it seemed like the industry was desperate for Loona to be like, yeah, we're not like everyone else, we're not like the other girl groups, like, but it really wasn't like that way. Blockberry definitely seemed to lean into this message as well to help market the group, if they ever truly cared, that is. This is why me and other fans wanted Loona to cover other highly regarded girl groups as well, because there is nothing inherently weaker about being a girl group with girl group choreography, especially when it comes in so many different forms and shouldn't be branded as lesser in any way because it's feminine and not masculine. The Butterfly era was so refreshing and brand new for both the industry and Loona. I think that despite the line distribution still being a bit biased towards certain members, Butterfly united the group under one concept that suited the uniqueness they all brought to Loona. Even though Butterfly was one of the most outwardly progressive music videos and attempts that we had seen and heard in K-pop at the time, it was one of the most disappointing eras in Loona's career. And this had nothing to do with the music or the visuals. It was announced that Blockberry had partnered Loona with Kakao M, which basically means that Loona's albums would be distributed by them. Kakao M owns One The K and Melon. One The K is a K-pop music video hosting channel that gives exposure to K-pop music videos And Melon is Korea's like Spotify. If you didn't know, I'm sure everyone knows this, but if you didn't know, for the casuals. When LOONA started being posted on WonderK, Orbitz decided to stick to giving all the views to LOONA's channel, because sometimes companies sign on with WonderK for a few years and then the music video gets deleted when the contract ends. I'm sure IOI is is supposed to be at like 200 million, something high, but their music video got deleted at one point. Kakao M holds a lot of power in South Korea, and they distribute pretty much the entire music industry's albums. This is why when Kakao M was having some beef with Spotify over their growing success in South Korea, they retaliated by removing their entire catalogue from Spotify for a few days, which basically wiped out the entire genre of K-pop off of Spotify. Now that Kakao M were LOONA's distributors, many Orbits were happy with this because they thought with their power, LOONA could sell more albums. But Kakao M severely underestimated how popular LOONA truly was, just like the rest of the K-pop industry did, and it resulted in a disaster. Kakao M didn't realize how much demand there was going to be and didn't print enough physical copies. The album was delayed on release day due to the high demand of pre-orders, which spoiled everything. How were we supposed to get that first music show win for LOONA if album sales played a factor in the voting? I should clarify that getting a music show win is extremely important for K-pop groups because it indicates how successful a group is. Once you get a music show win, you get more opportunities and respect in the K-pop industry. It's kind of like getting verification that you are a successful and bankable artist. Orbit still try to win the vote in other criteria, specifically the only criteria we had control over: the early voting, which occurred before their appearance on the show. The three candidates for the win was Monster X, SF9 and LOONA, but it was neck and neck between Monster X and LOONA. We had a few days and Orbits did everything they could to win the fight. On these apps, Star Pass in this case, to collect votes to give to your fave, you had to watch ads or do those annoying surveys, or you could just buy votes with your own money. I bought £5 worth of votes, which isn't too much, but I wanted to contribute with what I had. Rich fans usually contributed thousands of votes, like they had money. But those who didn't spend any money were doing all these quests to obtain the votes. What resulted was one of the most historic fan wars between Monster X stans, I think they're called the Mon Babies, and Orbits. Orbits said that Monster X already had wins and that they could just win another time. I don't know whether Monster X had their first win. I think they did. But if they didn't, they were like, you can just win another time. You've been here for so long. Orbits were like, please, just let us have this one. But the Monster X stands, they were not budging. They were not gonna change their mind. And it just went off the rails so quickly. These early votings usually average in that like 100k range. But Orbits and Monster X stans had racked up millions in votes on the Star Pass app. Like, it was serious. It was war. A rich Monster X stan would drop like 1,000 votes. And you could see the counter, so we knew we had to catch up. The trick was for the richest fans to drop all their votes in the very last minutes before the voting would close, so your opponent couldn't catch up. I remember being there when the voting closed and LOONA had won the vote. Yay! Like by the skin of our teeth, we made it. LOONA at the time had beaten the all-time record for the most voted act on the show, with the group coming in at 3.6 million votes. Monster X came second with 3.4 million votes, and SF9 fell behind with 400,000 votes. Like, they weren't really in this. But after all that team effort, LOONA still lost the show. Because of Kakao M's fuck up, we had no album sales to our name, so we couldn't win in all the criteria. So Monster X won anyway after all that. And I remember the time some Orbits on Reddit were saying, oh my god, we need to save up our votes for another round, because would you call them rounds? Yeah, like another day, because we're gonna lose this. Like, a lot of Orbits, we knew we were gonna lose, but we just couldn't let it go. We just blindly believed that like God was gonna intervene or something. Like, we knew we weren't gonna win, but we still used all our votes knowing that, because at the same time, what else were we gonna do? Like, SBS must have lined their pockets that night after making all that money off of voting from orbits that wouldn't amount to nothing. And Kakao M hadn't just ruined that. They ruined the digital release of the XX album too. They prohibited the album from being sold as a full album, dividing it all into singles. This meant goodbye charting the album on iTunes. On Spotify, the album was released under the wrong artist. Orbits were irritated beyond belief that Kakao M had derailed the XX rollout. So much so that an entire conspiracy theory was created around it. Some orbits believe that Kakao's incompetence was on purpose. I've heard rumours that K-pop companies or outside forces try to sabotage other groups in the industry so they can get ahead. I mean, I'm sure with all this Minheejin stuff coming out, I'm sure that there's like, it's kind of more plausible now, I think. But we don't have any confirmation of any of this. For these fans, it was clear that due to LOONA's rising popularity across the world, Kakao M wanted to stop them from getting too big. Kakao M owns a huge chunk of Starship Entertainment, Monster X's company, which fueled speculation further. There was a video essay about this topic, this conspiracy that is probably deleted by this point, but it spread this conspiracy theory. All that's left behind from that video was the like rap they did at the end. Now that's orbit history.
Butterfly, sage butter sauce wings with some fries. Take away please, with the toy please. Don't forget to stream Butterfly. Soon enough you'll get first place, and then you're gonna be erased. So watch your mouth and shut your tongue. First Kakao M, watch your back. Mnet, you're on crack. YG, bitch, you're in jail. Literally in jail. And LOONA, we're gonna fly.
A lot of orbits dubbed the rap as corny, and at first it was like out of genuine dislike, but then it turned into ironic enjoyment, like
Butterfly.
In my opinion, I think Kakao M's main mistake was that they underestimated LOONA's fame, which hurt the group's promotions. This could also be a routine Kakao M problem also, because I wrote this down in my notes like maybe a month or so ago, but I believe I saw XOLs angry the other day when I wrote this with Kakao M as well, so maybe they're just bad at this and it wasn't like a hit out at LOONA. So, and now looking back on this conspiracy, could it be that Blockberry are more at fault for this than Kakao? Like maybe Blockberry were behind this sabotage. We'll get into that. We'll never know if any of this was intentional or not, but right now we have no evidence to suggest that it was. So I wouldn't personally claim it was intentional, even if you could theorize that it was. Then there was the lawsuit. We have officially made it to our first LOONA lawsuit discussion. One down, 100 more to go. Blockberry had many different investors for the LOONA project, but not all of them were happy with Blockberry's neglectful attitude with their money. Donuts, a Japanese tech company who was Blockberry's second largest shareholder, filed a lawsuit against Blockberry Creative, claiming that CEO Lee Jong-myung was failing to pay back $300,000, which was paid to Polaris in 2017 to lease some building space. Instead, Polaris only paid back $30,000. Donuts wanted LOONA to appear on their app, My Live, but only one member of LOONA participated, the member in question being Yeojin. In a statement given by Donuts, they revealed, "We invested 3.5 billion won, $3 million that is, with the promise that LOONA would appear on the My Live broadcast, which is run by our company. Not only did the agency fail to return the deposit, but they also did not faithfully keep their promise about LOONA's appearance." Polaris gave a statement in response, saying that they had not received the deposit back yet and that they were planning on returning it to Donuts once they had received it themselves. Furthermore, Donuts asked Blockberry to see the accounting records so they could know how their $3 billion won investment was being used and Blockberry refused to show them. A few months later and the outcome of the lawsuit was revealed. Blockberry/Polaris lost the lawsuit and they were ordered to pay back the investment amount to Donuts in full. Blockberry filed an appeal, but the appeal was dismissed. So now Blockberry had to pay back the 3 million Donuts had invested in LOONA. It was even reported that Donuts were trying to claim the rights to LOONA's activities to stop BBC from transferring the group to another company. After the news broke of Donuts suing Blockberry, Orbits were worried what would happen to LOONA. They feared disbandment or bankruptcy because of debt. The group had just got off their feet, but even so they still performed solely in South Korea and might have struggled from capitalizing on their global fame because a world tour might have been even more pricey to conduct. The Kakao M mishap, or even the Blockberry mishap, also meant that the amount of copies LOONA would have sold from the XX album was stifled, meaning that the money they could have made from that album went down the drain. Orbit started the hashtag Save LOONA. The Save LOONA campaign made the fandom more aware of LOONA's financial standing, and in response, Orbit started buying LOONA's albums and streaming their music videos more than often to help keep the group afloat. It's the best we as international fans could do to help. And so LOONA got a few iTunes #1s during this period. The lawsuit news started a narrative and a new course of action. The new course of action being that Orbits would continue to buy LOONA albums on the iTunes store, which usually made the album #1 across the world on iTunes charts. And it started this narrative of Blockberry is broke or Brokeberry. I think that at this point in time, a lot of Orbits were overreacting by flat out claiming that Blockberry was broke. I mean, they were just shady, they weren't broke. And this narrative spread across the entire K-pop fandom, which eventually turned into LOONA is broke, which is not true. They ended up making a lot of money, at least enough money to sustain themselves, but Blockberry were overspending, and due to their poor management and other circumstances, they weren't able to recoup the costs. This didn't automatically mean Blockberry was flat out broke. It meant that they had to start making the money back that they had put into LOONA, because if they didn't, they probably would be. In May of 2019, we got this preview teaser for a new LOONA album, a LOONA ballad album. In the music video description of Love Forever, we had been promised a LOONA ballad album, as it was claimed that YY by Y's One Way was actually a track that has been kept aside for a long time to be used in a concept album titled LOONA the Ballad. Butterfly's music video description further confirmed that not only was One Way intended for LOONA the Ballad, but Where You At was also intended for La Maison at some point. The La Maison publicised teaser featured 3 different songs: Crystal Ballad, Hyper Ballad and Bliss Ballad. Those who had limited editions of the XX album had heard a teaser of Hyper Ballad and Bliss Ballad, as they were both hidden tracks on the XX album, known as Daydream and Stay With Me Babe. When Crystal Ballad is shown on screen during the teaser, we see LOONA 1/3, which implies that Daydream would be 1/3's contribution to the album. Following this, we see Odd Eye Circle behind Hyper Ballad, implying Odd Eye Circle will contribute Stay With Me Babe. Then finally we have Bliss Ballad, which would be YY's contribution. At the end of the day, we see the phrase under the La Maison logo: delayed but someday. Delayed until when? Someday when? That someday would be never. Why? Well, because Jaden had been removed from Blockberry Creative and was no longer working for LOONA anymore. In around August of 2019, we discovered that Jaden had either left or had been removed from Blockberry Creative. On his blog, he wrote of XX, stating, "The last album for LOONA that I made." Then he wrote, "A certain album that I had completed, I just deleted it. Ballads and lyrics that did not come out into the world. I had to do it. It had to be done that way. Guilt and sorriness mixed. I could not have gotten sadder. Oh, whoever translated this, you did a bad job. Quickly, the only way was to focus on new work." I'm trying to remember whether so-and-so, who I'm probably not going to name, I don't know. But Orbits from this time, no. I'm trying to remember if they were like our dominant translator before Orari or Ori, depending on how quick I read their name. Because it was said that their translation of the blog post lacked nuance and was very blunt. And the bluntness of what Jaden had written on his blog enraged global, more than not English-speaking orbits. Many were upset that he flat out deleted the album for essentially no reason, which was how it came across in English. And then some orbits thought that he was being overdramatic and like a little drama queen by writing on his blog about it in that way. On November 1st, Jaden confirmed that the LOONA The Ballad album had been scrapped for good. We even got some more clarity about why Jaden and Blockberry were no longer working together. Jaden did an interview with MTV which read, he envisioned the Loonaverse as 45 parts, from solo songs to subunits to official comeback singles. But he didn't get to see his vision all the way through due to creative differences with Blockberry Creative's new management, who wanted to put less significance on the Loonaverse. I found that we just didn't align as we had before, Jeong said. In August, he left the company, with LOONA's repackaged album XX being his last project with the group. A ballad album was scrapped in the process. I felt very empty when I couldn't proceed further with LOONA, he added. So now we were exiting the XX era with Kakao M ruining LOONA's album sales, a lawsuit that threatened the financial continuation of LOONA, an entire scrapped album that was teased for months that we were never going to hear, and we had lost the creative director who was at the forefront of the entire group's formation, visual direction and music direction since the very beginning. Disbandment loomed over LOONA as fans panicked. It was a disaster. There is actually no other polarizing or controversial figure in LOONA's history other than Jaden Jeong. I mean, there's Blockberry CEO Lee Jong-myung, but we all agree that he's evil. There's no debate there. But with Jaden, there was always a debate. And we have been debating about whether Jaden is good or bad for what has essentially been every day since he left Blockberry Creative in 2019, making it almost 5 years of Jaden Jeong discourse. Orbits are in what feels like a love-hate relationship with Jaden, as in we all hate the tireless and endless discussions about him, but at the same time, we're obsessed with talking about him. We're obsessed with talking about his work, his morality, everything. There was even one point where some gays in the Orbit fandom thought that Jaden Jeong was attractive. And saying some gays when it comes to Orbits is kind of off because everyone in the fandom is gay mostly, but I should clarify that it was like 10% of the fandom. It was like a minority. I just wanted to mention this because alongside Jaden Jeong, Orbits did used to have a very positive impression of him and Blockberry, but once Jaden left, it finally all fell apart. Even though Jaden had left LOONA in 2019, his infamy in the fandom just kept increasing until Orbits at one point had started penalising other K-pop groups Jaden was working for and their fandoms who supported him. Remember the Only One-Off Wars, in which their fans told Orbits to get out of their business when they criticised Jaden for his alleged mistreatment of their boys. It all resulted in Orbits dishing out one of the most brutal drag names of all time, Only One Sale. And it definitely rose above Lawsuit of the Month in cruelty. The fandom was soon torn into two sides. The Jaden Jeong defenders, who usually ended up being on the fringes of the Orbit fandom because they were seemingly severely outnumbered by the Jaden Jeong antis. Those who hated Jaden Jeong often disapproved of him very heavily, and disapproving of Jaden became a prominent belief shared by the entire international fandom. This happened because the Jaden Jeong antis usually resided on Twitter and his defenders usually existed on LOONA's subreddit. And considering how LOONA's main fandom base was Twitter, the fans on Twitter often succeeded in convincing the fandom at large that Jaden was in fact the worst. I think that where both sides sit in this debate over Jaden's character is kind of telling. On Twitter during this time, you couldn't exceed a certain amount of characters, so your points against Jaden had to be short and sweet, Why he's bad, one sentence. We got it. Meanwhile, on Reddit, where you could ramble away to your heart's content, positive Jaden sentiment thrived. Maybe because you needed more than a few words to convince someone of his innocence. Just saying. Although I think why orbits on Reddit feel a lot more confident and at times superior in their stance of support for Jaden is because Orbit Twitter had turned everything about Jaden into a game of broken telephone. It was all quick negative tweets about him that could be easily spread with no further information cited, which just made it easier to debunk. When you had a lot more space to talk in depth about some of the shortened claims against Jaden, a lot of the anti-Jaden Jeongers spread on Twitter. I hate to have to go back to a debate that has been talked to death within the Orbit fandom. But Jaden is a pivotal figure in LOONA's history, and it would be hard not to engage with the debate at all. And as every other Orbit, I have my own opinions that if I were to make a video essay about LOONA, which I am, I would want to write and speak about those. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to present to you various statements from both sides. Whoever is right is subjective, which is why I'll try and represent both sides from what I've seen, like the collective opinion, before sharing what I think. And that's not to say every single person on both sides have the exact same opinions. I'm sure everyone varies, but this is like the majority opinion that I've observed. This also doesn't necessarily mean that my opinion is correct or is right. It's just, it's right to me, but it doesn't have to be right for you. And I hope that you can be respectful of my opinions. As I said, it's just my opinion. I'd like to share my opinion because this is my video. The first claim by Jaden Antis that I've already touched on a bit in the previous chapter is the claim that Jaden deleted the La Maison album which contained LOONA's work, and then he was irrational about it. This is what the Jaden Antis say. The counterclaim against this by Jaden defenders is that Jaden was contractually obligated to delete the album, so he deleted his own personal copies because he didn't own them anymore. In other words, Jaden was just saying what he did. He deleted the copies, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Well, first of all, I do feel like at the time it was a bit unprofessional of Jaden to go on his very public blog and post in this way, mostly because we were always in the dark about LOONA in general, and this blog post about an entire album being scrapped with no further context or clarity was startling for fans, as you can imagine. Then the lawsuit news came out, and that just heightened the situation LOONA was in, causing more upset. And I think Jaden realised this later, but it was too late. As I mentioned before, it's been claimed that mistranslation played a part in a possible misinterpretation of Jaden's blog. This is why we get very simplified phrases like "I deleted it" with no context. Now, I have a feeling that there wasn't that big of a mistranslation issue here, and that Jaden was just too upset to clarify what was going on or like why he deleted it, you know. So I can empathize with Jaden in this instance because he probably posted that at a time where he was feeling emotional that his creation, his work and his art was essentially no longer his anymore to work on. But also, maybe a private diary instead of a public blog would suit Jaden better at times. He's always stirred up the fandom with his blog posts and edits, and sometimes it's just like, maybe he needs a better outlet to express his feelings about his work, okay? Like his backhanded compliments about Hassel still kind of make my skin itch, but that's the thing. It feels like creative directors in K-pop seem to have this attitude when talking about the idols they work with, and I would just rather he and all these other creative directors kept it to themselves, okay? The anti-Jaden Jeongers always labelled Jaden as being like a drama queen for the La Maison blog post, and I was inclined to disagree because if you've ever worked on a creative project that you were passionate about and had it scrapped, I can get why he was being dramatic about it. However, for all these years, La Maison was like this lost media mystery that fans were clamouring for this album to be released. Orbits came up with a way to fool other Orbits by consistently replying or quoting the La Maison announcement to trick a gullible scroller into believing La Maison was a new tweet about a new LOONA album. Drought editings. That's all I can say to that. If you ever wondered what the fandom was up to during a drought, it was basically just that every day. Soon enough, Loona the Ballad really started to become a major fascination amongst Orbits. All of this hype for years surrounding this album, all for us to eventually learn that La Maison never actually existed. In present day, a fan asked Jinsol about the album and she responded, "Loona the Ballad? We never recorded it back then, we just rushed to record the teaser bits. Was that a secret? We don't even know how the full thing sounds. That's why I can't spoil the songs for you even if I wanted to." The whole fandom was gagged, in disarray even. And with this new revelation, it casts a completely different light on Jaden's blog post, at least for me. He definitely wasn't beating the drama queen accusations now. Why was Jaden being so dramatic about an album that was barely recorded in the first place? But however, on the other hand, I can understand further why Jaden came off as dramatic, especially now. We know that La Maison was rushed for teasers' sake and wasn't even completed. Maybe Loona the Ballad as an unrealized project, he really wanted to do La Maison, so still he was feeling sad about that. Just because they didn't record it doesn't mean that he didn't have, like, as he said, I think he mentioned like the sheets and he probably has the songs, right? But in total, while I do think that Jaden was being kind of dramatic about the aftermath of La Maison, I just think it's funny to call someone a drama queen for this, okay? This wasn't his fault at the end of the day, because the main people at fault for the drama cause from the La Maison shelving was Blockberry. If Blockberry had been transparent with Orbits in the first place by informing us through an official statement that La Maison was cancelled, then maybe this news wouldn't have been left to Jaden Jeong to break to us. Jaden's no PR manager, he's no spokesperson. Well, at least at the time he wasn't. Of course, his personal blog isn't going to be an objective statement with clarity on what was happening. From the Brazil cinema theory being cancelled to La Maison, a whole album being cancelled. Blockberry was clearly refusing to communicate with fans when they wanted to suddenly change their decisions, and the result was just anger and chaos, which all could have been avoided if they did their jobs. I don't think I've ever seen a K-pop company announce an album through a teaser with the tagline, "Sorry, but it's delayed." Who does that? And then to never speak of it again. If an album is delayed, shouldn't it be the company that confirms its continuation or postponement? Just incompetent all around. As for La Maison, it could still be released probably as a subunit release for Artemis. I'm sorry, I don't read it as ARTMS, that's Artemis. We don't know though. As with everything with Loona, anything can happen. Now let's move on to the next one. Jaden wanted to make Loona unpopular by making them an unknown kind of underground group, claimed by anti-Jadens. And the defenders say this isn't true and he only spoke about this when talking about Lovelies. This was a debated talking point during the absent Jaden Jeong years. It's not too common to be brought up now, but I remember this being a topic of debate at the time. It's true that Jaden alluded to this when he said of Lovelies on his blog, Where Else? After a longer period of time, we can talk about the intentions and behind the scenes stories of this group. But the short answer is we wanted to create the most unknown girl group in an age of information overload where it is easy to know too many things. I wanted to form the most unknown girl group. But to pretend that Jaden's vision of creating a mysterious girl group only pertained to Lovelies and not Loona is just false. In fact, Vivi has confirmed this herself. In 1/3's 5-year anniversary live, Oreri translates, Vivi remembers once in Gangnam to maintain the mysterious concept. They were told to use the second floor bathroom instead of the first one somewhere. Heejin doesn't seem to remember. Vivi then says they used to be so obsessed with maintaining their concept. So yes, Jaden did want Loona to be mysterious. But what actually does being a mysterious unknown girl group mean? And does it really mean what his supporters and his haters actually perceived it to mean? I believe that what Jaden meant by mysterious has been twisted by both sides. Well, twisted by his defenders and misunderstood by his detractors. Jaden didn't want Loona to be underground, indie, unknown. He wanted them to be popular but unknown, which might sound confusing, but you'll understand what I mean when we return back to that Japanese article that I talked about, probably in the first part, that article that talked about his blog and his work. This gives a lot of insight, in my opinion, of what the real intention behind LOONA and Lovelyz was. And I do think maybe mistranslation played a part in Overseas Orbits really misinterpreting what was happening here. They reference a blog entry in which Jaden talks about Akina Nakamori's Shoujo A or Girl A, writing of this, "Jaden showed me the prototype of girl idols." It's also mentioned in the lyrics of Akina Nakamori's song, "It's not special, I'm everywhere, I'm a girl A." He understands the essence of 80s idols who were more sentimental and diverse in terms of lyrics and music. Eventually in the 90s, idols declined and Morning Musume revived. But today's Japanese idol culture has become lacking in content standardized by the AKB commercial code. In this context, Lovelyz to LOONA bring back the classic beautiful girl view of the 80s idols, which is different from the current Japanese idols and different from the mainstream of K-pop in their own country. From this observation, what I learned about Jaden's vision for LOONA is that it was probably less, I want them to be indie, underground, I don't want them to be known, and more, back in my day, there was no social media. Celebrities were mysterious, those types of comments you see on like an 80s song. We didn't know anything about celebrities on TV, back when music was real. The classic Gen X or boomer bullshit you hear when your parents talk about how bad music is today. I think Jaden wanted LOONA to be a traditional group, not an unknown one. Traditional in the sense that they would have limited social media presence and would be mysterious in the sense that they would be like idols from the era before the information overload. The information overload of the 2010s. Like idols in the 80s or 90s when he was young. The problem that arises with this is that this is kind of an impossible feat in this day and age, let alone for a group like LOONA. The fact that LOONA's saving grace would come in the form of the information overload of Twitter makes this all very ironic. Blockberry played into this anti-information image tactic, as LOONA would have strict social media protocols from no mirror photos to photos taken with other idols being banned. LOONA never really went live on their own terms, content was sparse, you get the idea. I mean, back in the mid-2010s, maybe this mysterious image seemed plausible. But as the industry progressed, if LOONA hadn't been freed from this image, imagine how isolated and removed from reality they would be. It would have harmed the group's popularity even further than it already had done back then. The rebuttal against this is that Jaden didn't know whether this mysterious angle would be successful and it's not his fault. Does him not knowing that really make him terrible? Well, no, but he's worked in the industry long enough to know that trying a concept like this is only successful with groups with an immense amount of privilege in the industry, something LOONA inherently didn't have. It's like how Min Hee-jin knew deep down that if she did what Jaden would eventually do, New Jeans debuting as mysteriously as they did wouldn't have garnered the material success the group would need to succeed. Instead, all they'd have is debt. Another reason why at times I come to loathe K-pop, because innovation is usually only feasible or financially possible if a big four label attempts it. If LOONA debuted under JYP or YG, then whether Jaden was ruining LOONA through his focus on mystique wouldn't even be a debate, because it would have succeeded no matter what. Don't forget that Lovelyz at least had the SM family and Infinite name at the time. It may have not been everything or helped their success, but at least they had like something. Meanwhile, Polaris and Blockberry had nothing. Non-Big Four groups already are mysterious because nobody knows much about the groups who aren't pushed by big agencies. Playing into it instead of trying to overcome it was an interesting move, but unattainable if Jaden did want LOONA to be successful. The other rebuttal to this is that Jaden expressed so many times that he wanted LOONA to be successful. So why would he want them to be some underground flop group? Why would Blockberry invest into such a costly project if they wanted LOONA to be unknown? And it's like, no, you guys, Jaden thought that making LOONA mysterious would be successful. And I'm sure BBC with their own twisted motivations were okay with this. And plot twist, Jaden later said that the LOONA project was only $2 million and not $9 million, and that boasting they had all this money was only attention for the media. Just another thing that they had done to try and get attention. If you remember the whole high lyrical thing that I spoke about earlier. I think that the worst part of the mysterious image that Jaden and Blockberry, because it was both of them, created for LOONA was the fact that LOONA were kept in the dark as much as we were, and they were the faces of the project. 1/3 discussed this in that same live stream, with Asul revealing, "I didn't even know we were doing the LOONA project when we were trainees. I think they were doing a mysterious concept." Heejin responds, "The company itself?" "Yeah, I think the staff were also doing the mysterious concept," Vivi says. Heejin then goes, "Even the staff are part of the law." I know Heejin was joking, but I think the fact the staff were withholding information from them, like in multiple LOONA TVs, when they were trying to convince the girls of like falsehoods, like it's clear the staff kept the girls in the dark about so many things. And I just don't know why. I mean, now we know why, they're terrible, but I did think maybe they were so unorganized that they didn't have the time to tell the girls what was going on half of the time. I mean, I don't know. But I wish that they had made the process more accommodating for the members when they all joined the group. Jaden also has like this habit of just running to the media about information LOONA didn't really know about or didn't know he was going to make public. And that leads to the next point. The allegations that Jaden is difficult to work with. This is all under the umbrella that Jaden is very strict and controlling over his vision. It was the producers of Monetary who casually brought this up about Jaden in an interview, which kind of just adds on to what Orbit's already perceived about Jaden. His defenders would say he was just trying to get his vision right. But then it gets to the point that the girls were put into very tough positions to get his very specific vision right. There were times where Jinsol told anecdotes about her wanting to dye her hair black because it was damaged from bleaching. Then there was the infamous saga about the singing in the rain shoe as he had her do some like underwater stunt. Jinsol was given 2 hours of training and was told to go 5 meters underwater, but she messed up by inhaling in the water and panicked. They ended up getting a body double in her place to get the shot. Jinsol revealed in 2021 that she is still afraid of going underwater after this incident. I do think what Monetary said sheds some light on Jaden's character. But I think if they accept that he's difficult to work with and don't really care about it that much and they just keep working with him, I mean, I wouldn't take this too seriously. Him being tough to work with is just like some off-the-cuff anecdote about him, you know? It's not too deep. Unless if it was too deep, then they wouldn't continue to work with him. On the other hand, the members of LOONA didn't really have that luxury of not working with Jaden in the beginning, as they had to comply with whatever was being done to them to fit into Jaden's creative vision. Many who hate Jaden also believed at one point that he ditches groups and that this is harmful to the groups in question. When these orbits would bring it up in relation to other groups he would work for after LOONA, you know, it was never received well. No fandom liked it, as I said. I think that it's in Jaden's right to work with whatever group he wants to work with. But at the same time, I do agree that the way Jaden works creatively with groups is often so strict and specific and controlled that once he leaves, things can shift dramatically. In such a competitive sphere of music, Jaden's creative outlook often gave groups an edge against the competition, and without him, it can leave groups in a permanent deficit in quality, attention and sales even. Ladies Code didn't even get to finish their trilogy, and I'm still sad about it. For the next claim against Jaden, which I'm going to put a trigger warning for you, and you can skip this if you don't want to hear it, but we have to talk about it, and that's the allegation that Jaden starved the members of LOONA. The members of LOONA have been very open about how they were essentially forced and instructed to maintain their weight. And a lot of their stories are very troubling and just upsetting. The girls seem to have managers who often felt pity towards the girls due to their harsh weight requirements set by the group's director. So some of the managers often allowed them to eat even though the girls weren't supposed to be eating. Like most K-pop companies, they had scales and routinely were weighed by staff. According to 1/3 during their era, the girls dieted extremely hard. They'd be in the gym and wouldn't eat much. For the 1/3 teaser, Yeojin and Hyunjin tried rebelling by jumping on the scales to break them. This didn't work for long as the staff just bought another set of scales. Yeojin said that she had to run hard if she didn't get down to 37 kg, oh god, and that she would be dismissed from school early so she could get to the company and run in a padded jacket. When LOONA 1/3 travelled and was staying at a hotel, the 1/3 girls were going to get like a meal after having eaten barely anything for a good while, but Hassel caved and ate some nuts. But then staff knocked on the door and saw in her teeth that she had been eating.
Hi guys!
And I just want to say that anecdote, I can't find a source for that, but I remember that story, so take that with a grain of salt. In a live stream many years later, Yeojin and Vivi spoke further about their dieting during this time. There was a time when we were working hard to diet and they threw away all the food in our refrigerator. For example, I ate a burger back then. I ate it 1 month prior to when this happened, but they found the receipt of that burger in an outfit I wasn't wearing, and that was the start of hell. They yelled, "Everyone come out," and took everything out of our pockets. They then threw everything inside our fridge, even the sugar, salt and vitamins. Everything that could be eaten were all thrown away. The members of Odd Eye Circle were also barely eating to remain skinny, with Cherry claiming, "Back then we ate an apple and 2 eggs," with Jin-Sol specifying just the egg whites. When they travelled to LA, the girls planned on waking up early to sneak food in from a vending machine into their hotel rooms, but they were too scared to do so because their camera director woke up early and they'd be caught. They tried to do their plan, but they then bumped into their camera director in the lift, so they backed out. Odd Eye Circle would try to sneak things from the breakfast buffet as well so they could eat it later in their room. In LOONA TV episodes, the Odd Eye girls would be like, "We're hungry," or "We haven't had anything to eat all day." I think from what we know publicly, YY by Y seemed to have one of the toughest debut processes, mostly because they were put together so fast. They had such a short training period, and because they had to debut at the speed of light, they had to lose weight as quick as possible. And this led to even more heartbreaking stories of being starved by the company. First of all, the director told then 16-year-old Olivia, now Haeju, that if she wanted to join LOONA, she had to lose 6 kg in a week. So Olivia did exactly that. What made Olivia's task to lose a lot of weight quickly in only a week so difficult was that it was during Lunar New Year, Solal, which is celebrated for around 3 days. In a frequency of the Moon episode with Go On, Olivia just tells the saddest stories, especially in hindsight. As part of the process, the director said, "If you lose 6 kg in a week, I'll make you debut." So I worked really hard and got rid of the 6 kg within the week. The 2018 Solal weekend was my most memorable Solal. That was when I was on a diet to become a member of LOONA. The director gave me a whopping 7 days. That year just happened to have everything for a long Solal weekend. We had relatives coming over and eating and stuff. I really did a total fast. I just didn't eat anything. The horror. But I received the greatest gift, a debut, for overcoming such trying times. It was hard back then, but looking back at it now, I think I only made it because I wanted it that badly. Thinking back, I wonder, is that possible? But to me back then, that was the most important thing, so I could do it. I made the cut by 0.1 kg. Back then, I wanted it so bad. I wore the lightest possible clothes and I stepped on the scale in the offices, and I was picked to debut by a margin of 0.1 kg. It was such a nerve-wracking moment, so scary. After all, I got in the car and my mum had bought me food so I could eat as soon as I got in. So I was about to start eating when the phone rang. "Tomorrow, there's a filming." I heard that and immediately put down the spoon. First YY by Y member Eve said that when she first joined Blockberry Creative, she also, like the Odd Eye Circle members, only ate an apple a day for around a week and a half to lose weight. Eve discouraged others from trying this diet as she explained, "Without any muscles, my immune system was broken. While I was really skinny, my skin just got weird." When recording for Gowon's solo album commenced, the managers didn't tag along, so Gowon and Chu used this opportunity to map out the area around Monetary Studios so they could go on frantic snack runs. Olivia would help with the effort and would bring home big watermelons that they could eat. Her bag ended up breaking and her shoulders were bruised as a result. Gowon didn't know how managers didn't notice that they had a watermelon being refilled in their fridge all the time. When doing the Beauty and the Beat photo shoot, the girls posed with food that they weren't allowed to eat, and it was even said at some point, I don't have a source for what I'm about to say for this part, but it was even said that the staff laughed in their faces about them being able to eat the food and LOONA not being able to. But take that little part with a grain of salt because I can't find that anywhere. But I remember that being the story. When they were in Hungary for the Love Forever shooting, staff asked the group to turn in all their snacks. Chu and Olivia came up with a plan to hide their food in the bin of their rooms, which was successful. But even Gowon gave in their snacks and became skeletons by the end of filming. YY would also forage for food and leftovers in the Hungary set where they were recording. What makes this even more troubling is the fact that Jaden Jeong himself approved of starving the girls, as he posted very publicly that he had caught Eve ordering food and had confiscated it. He jokingly captioned the picture, "Gonna hit you with a rocket," a pun on Coupang rocket delivery, which is where Eve ordered the food from. It seems Blockberry as a whole was absolutely relentless when it came to the policing of what the girls could eat, do, say, or behave. Many years later, Chu broke into tears as she revealed that LOONA weren't even allowed to leave the Blockberry building for more than 20 minutes for fresh air. To conclude, the general experience of being a member of LOONA in the first few years meant that you could barely eat so you could meet weight requirements, you couldn't leave the BBC building and were only allocated 20 minutes to go outside, and on top of that you were in the dark about what was even happening most of the time because everything was supposed to be mysterious.
You'll notice that a lot of the girls' anecdotes about their dieting restrictions mentions a certain director, but the girls never name who this director is. To me, it's quite obvious that the director is Jaden, but the girls probably don't want to name him out of professionalism and such. But who the director is referring to has always been discussed in the fandom and debated in the fandom. However, we do have some evidence that the director is Jaden, as Olivia's mum actually dragged Jaden on Twitter once upon a time about the whole dieting issue.
The next claim against Jaden Jeong that is kind of irrefutable, and it's something I have already spoken about in the pre-debut part, and that's Jaden's debuting of minors and his representation of them. Interestingly enough, Jaden's loyal defenders never seem to bring this up as a claim against him to debunk. And when they do, it's a struggle, probably because you can't debunk it. We've seen Cherry do a borderline sexy concept when she was 16, and we've seen Yeojin debut at 14, and in addition to everything I just told you, Yeojin has clearly suffered from growing up in an environment like this. Not that long ago, she was telling fans a dieting tip, which was to eat nothing, and then she was posting her scales and everything. Not only did A&R Jaden partake in the harm towards these young girls and what they went through, but he also had them do inappropriate concepts that were too mature for their age. You could claim Jaden had no control over what diets the girls were doing, but you can't claim at all that Jaden had no control over Cherry's debut song or Orai Circle's sexual lyrics, because that was literally his job. Even saying there are other directors just doesn't cut it either, because Jaden was the one who was in charge of LOONA's creative direction and music. He wrote on some of LOONA's songs too, so why didn't he change some of the suggestive lyrics of some of Orai Circle's songs? Then they'll be like, BBC was the one who released the songs. At the end of the day, you know, it's not Jaden. Okay, so it was wrong of BBC to enable Jaden's inappropriate creative vision then. Since his defenders can't really flat out deny that this isn't true, because it is, they distanced Jaden from the starving the members' allegations by claiming Jaden was just a creative director and had no say in it. You know, it was all Blockberry creative. He wasn't the one who was getting them to lose weight. And to me, this is just a deflection. We know that this is blatantly false because we have proof that he was involved in the policing of the girls' weight. It's true that Jaden might not have been calling the shots on this, but he clearly wasn't against it. he was at least a part of it. Taking it a step further, he thought them starving to lose weight was joke-worthy. That these young girls starving for his project was in fact laughable, normal, the right thing. It's not like he ever felt remorse or was never involved. Which leads us to the real debate about Jaden Jeong, the core of why most orbits either love or hate Jaden. It comes down to the philosophy held by most of these defenders, and that is, this is just the nature of the K-pop industry. Firstly, it's not like I flat out disagree with this notion. It's true that what happened to LOONA is part of the nature of the K-pop industry. But does that mean that the nature of the K-pop industry is right? No. All that this excuse gives us is a way to contextualize Jaden's behaviour. But it's not a strong enough rebuttal to be able to defend him from criticism. It's the equivalent of facing sexual harassment and then a man telling you, well, that's just how the world works. Would you be able to accept that? And of course, there is the most common whataboutism that comes from his defenders. The constant, you only care because you hate Jaden. What about everyone else? Isn't it odd when you call out one person for doing something morally wrong and all of a sudden that somehow means you only care about the one person who did it, when that makes no logical sense and nobody does that? If I was to criticize Prince Andrew, would you guys be like, you can't criticize him because what about all the other pedophiles? Isn't it funny that when you apply a Jaden defender's rebuttals to the real world, all of a sudden you see how flimsy and strange their logic is? But I'll give the Jaden Jeong stans this. We are in an era of K-pop plagued by blind CEO and creative director worship that rivals that of real life cults. So I can understand for them it must be hard to see all the other K-pop higher-ups being praised with no pushback from their echo chamber fandoms, and yet Orbits, a more critical fandom than most, have to be the ones to spoil all their fun. Through this lens, it's easier to understand their what about everyone else logic. And to that I say, fuck everyone else too. I refuse to glorify people like Bang Shi-hyuk, a greedy media manipulator who aligns himself with Zionists, sexualized underage BTS, and has God knows what predators working on Lesser Afim, and insults women working in his industry that are like 3 decades younger than him. I refuse to glorify Min Hee-jin, a stubborn woman who had her minor girl group perform Cookie, who belittled them in private chats and who is just straight up emotionally manipulative. I refuse to glorify JYP, a man who allowed his minor idols like Chewie and Hyuna to be sexualized, and then all the idols he starved. I don't want to glorify that man. I refuse to glorify Lee Soo-man, the man that blacklisted half of TVXQ for speaking up against his abuse, and also I refuse to glorify him because of all the SM idols who have been thrown away in a similar way, and I refuse to glorify YG and I refuse to glorify Jaden Jeong, a creative director who was ambivalent and even a possible enforcer of starving teenage girls, one being 14 years old, a man who sexualized his minor idols with no self-awareness. Dare I say he learnt these tricks of the trade from JYP? And all in all, a man who just like every other morally bankrupt creative director in K-pop, views young, vulnerable people in the entertainment industry as props to be commodified for their own special vision that ends up putting them in harm's way. And when you point all of this out, all of a sudden these Jaden stans will start treating you as if you need to be locked up in an asylum. They tend to do this frustrating gaslighting thing. They'll be like, Jaden's not a villain, he's not a monster, he's not some evil man, you guys are just like taking this too far. To try and make it seem like we're just crazy. Like you lot have to start going overboard and exaggerating the criticism because you know that if you took the criticism against him seriously and faced them head on, it would be harder to clear his name. It gets even more baffling when some of his defenders would call out Min Hee-jin, when Min Hee-jin and Jaden are essentially two sides of the same coin. I mean, I don't think Jaden would hold a conference like that, but similar crimes if you think about it. But when Jaden does it, we're all overreacting and trying to frame him as someone he's not. They also seem to think that we're all just insane, because apparently we think that everything bad that has ever happened to LOONA is Jaden's fault. As if we all ignore Blockberry's obviously more prominent role in everything that went down. Just because someone has criticism for Jaden doesn't mean that they think it was all Jaden all along and that he acted alone, when everyone knows that that's just not true. And I can understand why his defenders twist this in a way, because I get that the LOONA the Ballad Drama Queen allegations and the Unknown Shadow Group allegations that were once like kind of a big talking point during his absence kind of makes it seem like Jaden is taking all the heat from what you could essentially claim is Blockberry's fault. But that doesn't minimize the other claims here. Him partaking in micromanaging of young girls' bodies, the exploitation of minors through the group's music and styling, his concepts that consistently without fail put predominantly young people in uncomfortable or even hurtful positions, and all in the name of his vision. And in my personal opinion, I think Jaden did have a lot of say when it came to the girls' diets, because it makes perfect sense. He would do anything for his vision to be correct. So, and I think LOONA being skinny was always part of his vision. So, after that explosive rant, I'm sorry, I got very heated. After leaving BBC, Jaden moved to 8D Creative to work on Only One Of that contained members who trained at Blockberry Creative. Only One Of, the boy group, was also known as 8x8x8 at one point, and it was said that Chaotic by Odd Eye Circle was supposed to be one of their songs. Then we got the K-pop version of Watch Out Rihanna, Here Comes Tinashe, or was it Watch Out Beyonce? When Jaden ran to the media yet again, which gave us this headline, Jaden Jeong made you stan LOONA and now he'll do the same with Only One Of. And I'm sure, as you can imagine, this did not work. In the article, Jaden tells MTV that I'm expecting to return to the LOONA universe and that he's going to work with LOONA on their Japanese debut despite leaving Blockberry. I don't know what happened to that, but Jaden left LOONA for good. However, now that Jaden had proven that LOONA's unconventional concept had or could work, he was able to cobble together backers for his own label, Mod House, and so he finally was able to achieve what he envisioned for LOONA all along: a female Korean AKB48, Triple S, his way. After LOONA split under circumstances to be discussed later in LOONA's story, a fraction of the members returned to work with Jaden under Artemis. I'm sorry, that's just Artemis. Many of Jaden's stans seem to take this to believe that Jaden was innocent all along, because that period where he was gone made some fans believe that LOONA was on their side against Jaden, which wasn't true, not for all the members, or not that we even know. But that doesn't mean that my opinion is the same as LOONA's. Like, my opinion doesn't have to be the same as theirs. But anyways, when in reality, if we're being real, what this really means is that the majority of K-pop idols are so indoctrinated with the idea that physical suffering and at times exploitation is worth it when it results in good creative output and success. I'm sure the members of New Jeans knew all about Min Hee-jin's heinous comments about their weight and their work ethic. At times, she even insulted them as dumb. And I'm sure New Jeans accept this because look at how much Min Hee-jin has done for them and their career. She's just helping them be successful. Just like how in Jaden and his defenders' eyes, he confiscated Eve's food and pushed Olivia to starve because it would help LOONA be successful. And when it comes to the members who chose to work with Jaden, I don't blame them, because I don't blame victims of an overall exploitative industry that taught them from a young age that all of this was normal. Jaden Jeong is just another cog in the machine, another symptom of the industry. He's not some villain. He's not the only person at fault, and of course he's not the one responsible for what happened to LOONA. But that doesn't mean we should interact with his work uncritically or to forbid criticizing his past actions at all as if he's some untouchable figure who has done no wrong, or because he worked on a few albums we liked. And past actions can also turn to present actions. Look at the way he wants to work Triple S and how young their members are. Nothing changes. At the end of the day, whether you are a defender of Jaden or not, all depends on whether you accept that it's okay because it's just the way the K-pop industry is, or if you refuse to accept the practices of the K-pop industry and actively criticize it. And I will always fall into the latter category. I will never glorify anyone who works in the K-pop industry because we don't know what kind of atrocities these people commit in their own time with these idols, with these very young people. We have no idea what's going on. And you will never get me to believe otherwise. You will never get me to side with these people. Okay? And that's that on that. Earlier on in 2019, it was reported that LOONA had a very small team of only 15 people, most of those being women, including the CEO, Esther. On top of that, it was upper management in BBC which changed, which is why Jaden ended up leaving when they came to disagreements about the law, according to Jaden. 2019 finally shattered this illusion in the fandom that Blockberry was a respectable and genuine company. And what they had enabled Jaden, other directors and staff to do during the pre-debut era continued to come to light throughout LOONA's run and after LOONA's run. We will still be hearing about it as the years pass. And so concluding the second part of this retelling of LOONA, it's crazy to reflect on how quick the tables turned. From a project brimming with creativity to an unstable project suffering the realities of a competitive industry and a terrible label. The reason why I wanted to stop at XX and have a whole video dedicated to the rookie era is because the XX era was truly the end of a whole entire era of LOONA's career, even though it was the start. And if I could label the attitude and outcome seen in this part of LOONA's career in a few words, I would call it the end of the idealistic era, or the end of the idealistic phase. At the time, Orbitz had so much faith in Blockberry as a company because they were doing something experimental in the realm of K-pop that no other company had tried before. Orbitz had relatively positive to glowing reviews of Blockberry. Blockberry was rich from investments. LOONA TV was professional and showed the girls in good health. The girls were allowed to use the company card, and so Blockberry was a leading example within the industry. In reality though, with such little content provided by the company that was ultimately controlled by the company, Blockberry were convincing the fandom at large that LOONA were in good care and that for K-pop standards, they were an ethical company. If the only content you would see of LOONA was staff buying them something from the vending machine and them eating for like a few seconds or minutes, it was easy for fans to subconsciously start believing that LOONA were in good hands, that they were completely fine, they were eating just fine, there was no problem here. I mean, if you look up the LOONA TVs, you would never have guessed that any of what I just described to you in the last chapter was even the case. I wonder if that was ever strategic, or maybe Blockberry's a bit too dumb for that. Onlookers and fans had such an idealistic view of LOONA during the pre-debut era that it was almost inevitable that when they eventually debuted, people felt like their own personal vision for the project had been shattered. And the people who felt that the LOONA project wasn't being carried out in the way they personally wanted it to, ended up becoming some of the group's most prevalent haters. This became the most notable in LOONA's next era, where LOONA would go their own way and separate themselves from this idealism and instead release more divisive albums and concepts that caused a lot of inner turmoil and debate within the fandom. Some believe that LOONA was nothing without Jaden, and others believe that Jaden needed to stay away from LOONA at all costs. Some believe that Jaden was the sole reason for LOONA's success in the first place, while others believe that Jaden was why LOONA was unsuccessful compared to their later eras. LOONA were no longer the project that everybody had high expectations for. They would become the group who challenged themselves constantly, who in turn faced mixed reception as a result. LOONA's image and sound changed drastically. Their reliance on the Loonaverse weakened in the eyes of certain fans, and the problems and mistreatment LOONA themselves were facing with Blockberry started to become so prevalent as Blockberry couldn't hide behind Jaden's mysterious image anymore, now that they had parted ways. While LOONA had spent the first 2 years of their career existing as a hidden gem with a mysterious edge, LOONA were now going to enter a new phase in their career where they had to be seen and truly capitalized upon so they could actually make a profit. The debut and XX era did well for a group of LOONA standing, but it wasn't as big enough for what the project had promised. The upcoming next phase of LOONA was a mixture of some of the bleakest moments in LOONA history, while also being one of the most illuminating for fans and influential for the rest of the industry. And all of that and more as to be discussed in the second part, which I'm so sorry, I really hope will be out this year. I will try my best, but I'm definitely going to return. I keep saying this is what I hate. I just get so, I'm really sorry. I really am, that I keep like disappearing. I just want to say also, I'm so sorry about my pronunciation of words. I mean, and I don't even know what I'm pronouncing wrong. That's the problem, but it's actually a very specific thing to me. I can't even pronounce normal words sometimes because I think I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I definitely have a tendency to read words way too fast, and what happens is in my head I just shorten everything. So when I say words out loud, it's like just strange. Here is a few examples of words that I pronounce. Like, this is how I read some words. It's awful. First of all, we have Chapel Roan. I read her name as Chapelle Rowan. Where did I even get that from? There is no E. Then we have LMAO. So everyone reads this one a bit different, like Lamau or something. But I've always pronounced this in my head as Lamo. Where? And then we have period, which I think the T is just supposed to be like period. You're not supposed to announce, okay. But I will literally read this as peridot. And then how could we forget Law Day? I literally, this is so embarrassing. Why did I just wanted to show that it's literally even simple words I have a problem. Like, it's not just like, I don't look it up. When I look it up, but I just can't read it. I'm sorry. Then how can we forget colonial? I can't tell the difference. Okay, colonial and colonel are spelt the same way. How am I supposed to know which one's which? And then we have Dia, which I used to that's Dia. No, I learned. I'm happy I spotted that because it's actually diamond, Dia. But I was like, that's Dia. And finally, what I'm about to say is just gonna offend everyone in the UK. I'm about to look so ridiculous. But I have literally in my head read Surrey Keys as Surrey Quays. Surrey Quays. I just want to say in advance, I'm so sorry. I have a problem. Please don't kill me for it.